muted. I was still muted there for a moment. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to a camless Everborn Saga and Asante on this latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. I am, of course, your host, Mr. Asante, TKO Asante on all the places we find ourselves. And, of course, I am joined by the one and only, the ever-late Saga. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
What's happening?
Oh, there he is. There he is. What's going on, everybody? How you doing, bro? I know we had a late morning this morning. What's going on with you?
Oh man, I literally woke up maybe like 90 seconds ago.
Wow, you're kidding me.
No, I'll tell you what happened.
Tell me.
What's going on. I think I woke up at like 4 a.m. this morning and wasn't able to go back to sleep until around 6:30 a.m.
Oh wow,
And then I wake up, look at the clock, and it's like 10:03. So
ooh, okay. So it looks like I'm not the only one having sleep adventures. So I went to bed yesterday at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Wow. Okay. Yeah, don't know what happened. Went to bed at 5 p.m.
That's what happened.
I don't know. And then I woke up this morning and my wife is like, you do realize you slept for like 14 hours, right? I'm like, holy crap. And I average like 6-7 hours. So, there you go.
You needed it, man.
Clearly I needed it. Yes, absolutely I did. Well, okay. We are here.
This is completely unrelated, but
please.
As we know, I've been dieting for the last several months, so I weigh myself every morning or whatever. You burn the most calories while you sleep. So yeah.
So I'm on a diet, is what you're saying.
Yes. I weighed myself when I first woke up at 4 a.m. It's just what I do every morning. And then I weighed myself again as I woke up at 10 a.m. and I was 0.4 pounds lighter.
So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to lose weight, go back to bed. That's what he's saying right now.
You have to sleep.
Yes. The body needed it. I needed it. And clearly you and I are on a weird sleep schedule situation, but that's not what we're here for. We are not here to talk the Gaming Sleep podcast. We're here to talk about the Gaming Circle podcast. So yes.
I thought it was the Gaming Sleep Apnea podcast. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. Yes. Then I see MJ Dark in the chat. Maybe we can play some Horizon Forbidden Sleep. That'll help, right?
I was gonna ask if that's what you were playing when you fell asleep, but I felt
shut
like
up,
it was
bro.
Too soon. You were watching the pilot of the canceled Horizon show.
You see. No,
I mean,
that is too soon.
We have another show to talk about.
Indeed.
But we'll get there.
That is too soon, sir. That is too soon. Anyway, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I see a lot of folks already in the chat. A lot of people already chatting it up. Welcome all. Welcome one and all. Thank you so much for being here. This is one of those mornings where, yeah, man. I see you in the chat, Hargeet. I see all the great people. Aaron's in the chat. The man with one of the best names.
Man,
it's Aaron, man. It's Aaron. Stop the BS.
When are we getting him on the show?
We had him on the show, but we can get him back whenever he wants to be on the show, sir.
On the show again.
Yeah. I mean, he will definitely be on the show sooner rather than later when I go to Germany and he and I do the in real life podcast over drinks. That'll be great. So there you go. There's that. But no, we should definitely have him back on the show proper. Yeah, you are not wrong. You are not wrong. So MJ Dark, he of course always with the first super chat. He's here with a member chat. He's been a member for 6 months. Thank you so much, sir. He says, if you want to lose weight, turn in Horizon Forbidden Sleep and you will lose 50 pounds in 1 hour. Hello, gents. Have a great show. Rog X ain't special. Wow. Oh, he is. Hey, man. I'm with you on your page about the Rog X being a little snake oily, but I did see the Fox, the great Fox. His last tweet was prolific. It was interesting. It might be good. Who knows? Hey, I'm here to be honest. If I was wrong, I was wrong. It is what it is. We shall see.
I'll just say, let the ROG Ally X hate flow through you. You guys just can't give it credit, but it's okay. The reckoning is coming on Monday when these
Sir, like I keep
come.
telling you, I have no issues with the hardware. My issue is more with actually with the company who's making it than it is the hardware that is being produced. If the hardware is good, it's good.
But that's why you can't see the forest through the trees, sir. I've had you tell me because you didn't like, you don't realize this. You don't like Asus so bad that you told me 24 gigs of slightly faster memory is not going to make any difference.
No.
Gigs of slower memory.
No. What I told you, and let's get it straight.
Extra battery being bad.
Let's get it straight, sir. Let's get it straight, sir. I said that the speed of memory matters more than the amount of memory, right? The speed, meaning going to
speed is faster.
Meaning going to 7,400 megatransfers per second is far more important than 16 to 24, right? That is the side factor. But we're not going to get into that because it will come out soon enough. The reviews will come out soon enough, and if it's good, it's good. You've heard it here, digital receipts. If it's good, it's good. I will still have a side eye for the company until I hear somebody do an RMA successfully. It is what it is. But if the hardware is good, fantastic. That's it, right? That's what we're looking for. By the way, on the other topic of hardware, I have hardware on its way as well. So there's some excitement going all around. So we shall see, right?
I remember the reviews for that hardware too that you got on the way, but we'll see what happens when you get the retail version.
And MJ, stop it. J Mac with a member chat, also here for 6 months. Thank you, brother. These guys they've been members for so long. We appreciate y'all. He says, I just had to crush a friend of mine's dreams of college football, 25, by letting him know there is no last gen version. Grown man tears. But you know what though, and we might talk about that a little bit. Isn't that a good thing for us gamers who want to move the ball forward? Right? It seems that a lot of people are jumping into the new waters because at the end of the day, that's the only way to get the hardware to get to play the game you want, right? If they release the last gen version, wouldn't people just continue to stick with the last gen version? That's the question, right? That's the question, you know. So we shall see. We'll get into that a little bit more properly.
You had 4 years almost, or 3.5 so far to upgrade. There comes a point where the older hardware is just not going to cut it, but it is going to be. You know what? We'll save that because I think you have a topic. I think I have some things to say on that front. But I'm very interested to see how sales go, because there's this thing that we hear that to us who are really plugged into this thing, enthusiasts, right? Bought Xboxes and PlayStations day one or whatever. We hear things like Xbox is at the highest amount of console users they've ever had, while at the same time hearing they're being outsold 5-1 and they're not selling at this point in the life cycle. They've sold less than the previous generation, which they already were down from the 8th generation or 7th generation. And so what happens is, like, the way that gets reconciled is the top 10 games every year are probably games that are over a decade old or nearing a decade, right? We're talking about FIFA, Madden, 2K, Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, GTA 5. All of those things are still the most played games, but the thing that they have in common is that they can all be played on last gen, and there are many people who only play those games. And so if they if that's all they play and they can still play it on their existing hardware, they aren't like us, right? No Kendrick. They just care about playing those games. They can still play COD, they can still do those things. There's no real reason for them to upgrade until you say you have something like a college football 25. And what will be really interesting is when GTA 6 comes out, and there's this like the most poorly kept secret that the PS5 Pro is going to come out. And in our world, our sort of content creator or enthusiast world, obviously people are going to say, oh, everyone's going to, spend the extra money to play GTA 6 on the best hardware they can because it's not coming out of a PC yet. And so everyone's going to play on PlayStation. And what we don't understand is that there are a lot of casuals who haven't seen the need to upgrade because they didn't care about the extra performance. And those people that need to upgrade are looking for the shortest path to get to where they're going. And the least expensive path will be the Series S. And so I think there's going to be a lot of people who, when they're forced to upgrade for a title like college football, and we're seeing this now, we're seeing this thing sell out in different places. When they're forced to upgrade for something like a college football, which is probably a more American centric game, so that's having a big impact on the Series S
it's
here
definitely
in
a more
States.
American game. Definitely,
Right?
absolutely,
but
it is. Yeah.
When FIFA goes next gen only, you'll see something different because, again, that is the cheapest path to get to what they want, which is not to be a fan of a certain console or whatever. It is to play that one or two games that they play. And so no. I hear what you're saying. I'll just wrap up this thought, which means there's one end of the spectrum where, without question, the PS5 Pro is going to be the only way to play GTA 6 and other games that make that leap. But the other end of the spectrum is the casual who doesn't care about the performance, and this is the cheapest way to get there. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody just has $600-700.
No. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. But I guess what I want to interject with, and we'll go back to other topics in a moment. We'll get to the way we do things. But this is a very interesting question that I think I want to tease out a little bit more. I don't think you're wrong, but that also brings about two very interesting thoughts in this realm, right? If that's the way to move them forward, and you see that's materializing now with EA Sports College Football 25, mouthful, that just happened to be how they decided to roll it, right? And to your exact point, which I've said as well, the only way to get the casuals to move forward is to entice them with a game that they couldn't find elsewhere, right? Because as you're correctly pointing out, not everybody cares about the technology, not everybody cares about the graphic fidelity and whatnot, right? All those other black hole games that they keep playing on the last gen, right? First off, and I have a two-part question here. You answer both of them for me. First off, those black hole games, what will get them to upgrade? Will that require a bag from a platform holder? Because it doesn't seem like it's in their best interest to cut off the huge install base of last gen in order just to get people to upgrade to next gen. It's not their bag. They don't care if you upgrade to next gen. Their mark of success is the money they're making, and they can make the same amount of money last gen, heck, on 360 if you make them, right? They want your money in microtransactions and continuously playing their game, right? And that is successful for them today. So why would Fortnite go to only next gen unless maybe PlayStation and or Xbox throws them a bag and says, here's a huge bag to forego your lost sales, go only next gen? That's my question one. And my question two is to your point about people upgrading for let's say GTA 6. And I've said this again, and I want to know what your thoughts are. Because these companies are listening, Microsoft more than most, but let's be clear, they're all listening. Does GTA 6 bring about the $80 game? Go.
It could, but I feel like they're gonna make well, the answer is I don't think the base price will be $80. However, I think there will be versions of the game that will give you early access and these other things that
that's not fair though. That's a hedge, because even Starfield that was part of a Game Pass had a $300 version, right? I'm talking about base tier.
Yeah. But I think they're gonna do something interesting. I don't know what that'll make most of the can't wait people. Something that's maybe more aggressive. Maybe it's like a month early as opposed to 10 days early or something like that.
Wow, that'd be aggressive indeed.
Where everyone's just gonna buy that version, but the base version will come down. I could be wrong, but I don't know that I see them moving the needle to $80 because they're gonna make it up with an insane amount of volume, and there's already people that are going to have to spend on a new PlayStation or Xbox to play this thing. I don't know if they also want to push the envelope.
Hey, there've been conversations, bro. They've been conversations. I mean, wasn't that Sony's original push to go to 80, and then they pushed back and left it at 70? I don't know, man. I'm cautious about that whole thing. Not optimistic. I feel the gloom slowly coming.
to your older point, to the first point you made in that question was, what about the black hole games? Because there's a difference between an annually installed Call of Duty, Madden, NBA, 2K. Those things you can just iterate and say, hey, there's a cutoff point. We're doing something new with technology, and the old guys are going to be left behind. They could do that. That's a very different equation when you have something like a Fortnite, a Minecraft, where it's the same game. You can't really completely change the code base.
See, but in that though, there are differences. In that, there are differences, and Hargeet in the chat makes the salient point about that. In that, even though they're both black hole games, Fortnite is different than, say, your Minecraft, because Minecraft is owned by a platform holder. So it would be in Microsoft's best interest to go, hey, if we want them to upgrade to the next gen, well, it would probably be more PlayStation, and if they had a black hole game, because Xbox has diversified their where you can play their games, so that's fine. But it would be, in general, be beholden to a platform holder to want to push you to the next gen so that they can sell you that hardware, versus a Epic who doesn't give a crap because their games are everywhere, right?
But again, those games that Microsoft owns that are like that are literally everywhere, save for Halo in the list that he mentioned, right? So if this is the thing, right? If what you have are sort of black hole service games that thrive on being in as many places as possible, your goal, and again, I hope people that listen to this show long enough knows that we're not talking about this level of binary thinking. So I'm going to say something. It doesn't apply to everything. It applies specifically to the acute subject that we're talking about. So what I'm saying is Fallout 76, ESO, Minecraft, COD, Overwatch, right? Limiting those to next gen only hurts what those games need to survive, right? Because you're saying you're going to have an update that is going to cut off, literally, even in the case of PlayStation right now, 50% of the users on PlayStation are still on PS4. And that number is higher or lower on the Xbox, right? If you were to say, well, just because I want to sell more hardware, I'm going to cut those people off for this type of game that thrives on microtransactions and monthly active users, you'd be cutting off your nose to spite your face. Now, and again, the business is not, I don't care who you are, the business is not selling more hardware. The business is getting more people into those service games. And that's so right, if you are a company like a Sony or Nintendo where you don't have those kinds of games, then yes, you need more people to buy your hardware because you need them locked into your ecosystem. But if your biggest money makers are the games that Hargeet listed, again, save for Halo, save for Gears,
Mm-hmm.
because a Halo and a Gears and a Fable, that's to grow your platform
Install
and
base.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
A Minecraft and a COD and an ESO is to sort of grow your
Siphon off all your
Right.
microtransaction players.
Right.
Yeah.
That's for your ARPU and your or
Mhm.
average revenue per user and things like that. But
Uh-huh.
but growing your ecosystem, that'll be for the Halos and the Gears of the world.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't
Unless
disagree.
you can't read a resume and you saw the word "or," and so you thought that must mean Gears E-Day is coming to PlayStation on day one. But that's a topic for later on, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So let's get back on track. I love this beginning conversation because it's been rattling around my brain for a little bit. I was talking about it with Boom on his show a couple days ago as well. The pending, the idea that the platform holders have to somehow get you to upgrade, right? And a lot of the black hole games, First Descendant being one of them now, right? You would think that maybe if they got a deal with PlayStation would hand them a big bag and say, hey, please don't put this on last gen, because they want to move units, right? But hey, that's a conversation we're going to keep having. Sith Lord, $2 super chat. Welcome, Sith Lord. He says Microsoft's problem made yesterday hell. Yeah, now I remember, Sith, you work at an airport, and for those who aren't paying attention, technically, would you call it Microsoft's problem? They were as much of a victim as most people, right? This is CrowdStrike, and some developers at CrowdStrike doing an update, which basically blew up everybody's machine, mine included. Woke up in the morning with a blue screen of death, and it took me some time to get back online. Did that affect you in any way, Everborn?
Unfortunately, it did not. I was trying to. I logged in. I'm like, damn, Teams is working, emails working. I can get into the VPN. Damn it, I gotta work today.
Yep. So let me tell you a quick story.
No, because I am not. What I am not is a network engineer. I'm not an infrastructure guy. I'm a software engineer. So that
it could have still affected you.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Still
if it did
you.
happen, it wouldn't be my problem.
No, it definitely wouldn't be.
It would be like the SRE team's problem and middleware. Those guys that manage the servers and things we have, that'd be their problem. And I'd just be like, well, you guys got to get this thing fixed. But sadly,
sons of bitches.
we weren't using anything that affected that. So I had to work yesterday.
So on my front, my machine was on last night, the night before. So when the issue happened, it blue screened my machine and I turned it off, right? And basically and I won't get into the nitty-gritty
You just had to turn it off
details.
and on 15 more times and you'd have been good.
No, that's not how it worked. So long story short, right? So it definitely affected me where it blue screened. And what's happening is CrowdStrike in the company that I work for, we use CrowdStrike to kind of authenticate us before you even get into the machine, right? So there's a top layer of authentication that needs to happen.
Before you finish, tell this story. I got my headphones on. I'm gonna go make my coffee so that I don't fall
You
asleep
first. Then I gotta go do. Then I gotta do the same thing. You
so
first.
Do a rant. But I'm listening.
I'll do a rant, and then I'll do super chats. All right, cool. So yes, I started the whole thing. Machine was dead. Long story short, so my wife is like, hey, this is a great opportunity to spend the day together. The kids are here. You're here finally. Let's go to breakfast. Halfway to breakfast, halfway driving to breakfast, I get a message on my phone because the phone, of course, still works. And it's also connected to the workplace. They're like, oh, yeah, we're having these issues. But, jump on your machine real quick. We'll tell you how to circumvent it and you get back to work. I'm like, son of a no. So yes, needless to say, I had to do a bit of this, a little bit of that, but I was able to get back online. I had to go delete something. And then yes, it got me back online and I was able to circumvent that BS. But yes, yesterday was a little interesting. There were a lot of people who were complaining. A lot of people was coming after me because in my work, I'm the engineer. I'm the engineering team at the workplace. So if folks need access to certain things that in our operations team can't help us, they tend to I'm the escalation point. So yes, yesterday was interesting. Sith, I know where you work. It was very interesting for you. I saw a lot of people at airports complaining their asses off. Apologies, man. It is what it is. CrowdStrike, they should get their hand slapped for that, but we shall see what happens there. But okay, let's move on. We have MJ Dark with another super chat, $5 super chat. He says, Everborn, the Dreamcast was better than the PlayStation, and how that turned out. ROG-X is lipstick on a pig. ROG-X is Sonic. CCP device is Mario. Yo, you gotta stop being that one-man band in the chat, bro. Now, see, the best thing about this MJ Dark is we can stick to the speeds and feeds and call it what it is, as it is, and then let the emotional gamers go get loose when their hardware eventually gets sad. So we'll see how that one turns out. You know what I'm saying? Now, Infinite Umbra, I don't understand what you
see. I was in the middle of making my coffee, and I heard.
Okay, here we go.
That emotional MJ Dark, because and you can't. It's not even like I'll bring up the. By the way, I don't know if the chat knows when we say CCP, we're talking about the
He's talking about
Windows
bespoke hardware vendors that are not
okay
at your Best Buy or your normal stores. Yes.
What we're talking about is people who sell recycled parts, and they throw it together, and they sell Windows-based handhelds on Indiegogo.
Recycled parts, that would be ASUS, sir. Okay. None of them have any specs. The only non-recycled part would be what do you call it, Valve. They're the only ones. So all the others do recycled parts. So
we have been arguing in the chat because there's an irrational hate for the ROG Ally X specifically.
No. There's an irrational hate for ASUS. Let's be clear. It's ASUS, but continue.
Because these guys who spend $1,400 every 2 months on new handhelds don't like the idea that the ROG Ally X and the ROG Ally in general took all the spotlight away from their Windows-based handhelds that are made by the Chinese Communist Party. And
oh my gosh.
So now every time you say anything positive about the ROG Ally X, you get these emotional responses, and then they call us the console emotional gamers.
The CEGs,
they just have this irrational hate for the ROG Ally X. I can't understand it. Okay, but that's what we're talking about when we say Ally X versus the CCP. I have to give the people the backstory.
Sure.
Now I'm going to go back to making my coffee.
Yeah, you do that. Yeah, you. he has to come and set it straight before he goes and makes his coffee. Good morning. Oh, and we lost him. He'll be back. I think we have the man One Bad Mother joining us. I see him in the background, and he jumped off, but he'll be back, I'm sure. But okay, let's continue. Hold on now. So Infinite Umbra, I may need you to explain yourself, sir. Let's see. He says, Okani Kasegu, I hope I'm saying that right. Origari Wa Stars? What the hell are you talking about, sir? Please enlighten me. I'm sure I said that completely wrong. Enlighten me, sir. And he does that with a 3-month member chat. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here. But I need you to explain yourself, sir. Anyway. And then the great Soil Tech is here. What's going on, brother? I hope you're doing well. He says, hit the like button and subscribe. Sir, I appreciate you. And yes, I need to do that more. If you are here and you are new to the channel, please do what Soil Tech is talking about here. How about you consider subscribing? How about you hit that like button and let the algorithms know that we're doing good work here? And maybe hit the subscribe button so that when we have another show, you'll know that we're doing it. We appreciate you guys so much for being here. And another member of the community, the great Drawn TJ with a $5 super chat. He says, hi guys, you will get through my long work day. It's going to be it's going to be 104 Fahrenheit today. Wow. 65 hours last week. This week, 58 hours. Damn, bro. I hope you're getting paid well for that time with that much heat. Damn, bro. Like, and I'm in Florida, so I understand what you're talking about, sir. I do understand what you're talking about. I hope all is well. Let's see. Hold on here. Oh, he said fairly close. Yes. It's Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. I understand. See, I'm an old head, bro. The gray beards are real. Maybe I'm not caught up on all y'all young bloods real quick. You know what I'm saying? And I say that knowing that me and Umbra are pretty much the same age. It is what it is. Anyway, so okay, I'm gonna wait for Everborn Saga to return. But of course, I think we have the one and only One Bad Mother joining us. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
Hey, good morning, Kay. Can you hear me, man?
I can hear you. You sound great. What's going on, man?
I'm all right. I just kind of rolled out of bed, made it to the coffee pot, and now I'm here. So, good morning. Hey, you know what?
It is that day.
Mm-hmm. No matter how smooth or unsmooth we are today, just remember, at least you didn't shut down airports and banks with your update. So,
indeed.
I'm definitely going to save that one in the back pocket the next time something happens at work.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No matter what happens, at least I didn't shut down airports and cause like mass hysteria all over the place. It's Y2K all over again. This was hilarious.
We've waited, what is it now, 24 years?
Yes, for actually what we got Y2K. Yep, exactly.
Did all those things we put in place over 20 years ago were just bullshit, weren't they? None of that stuff.
Absolutely,
really
they were. Yeah, man. So welcome to the show, man. I know you've been in the background for a little bit. Let us know what you've been up to, man. What's new with you?
Besides lots and lots of work, I did get a chance to dabble in more than dabble in a little bit of college football, especially last night.
Okay.
I did hear you guys in the background while I was making my coffee talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
About the console sales and I was expecting that. Like I heard Matt Pescatella actually called this months ago. He said, I bet I bet college football ends up selling more consoles than any of these exclusives that people were talking about. And I think lo and behold, there you go. And I think he's right. Yeah. These are the things that resonate to the audiences that haven't jumped on. But yeah, I think it might be the best EA sports game since, I don't know, maybe MVP 2005, something like that. It's pretty good. It's like this is the happiest I've been after purchasing an EA sports game in a long time. So it is legitimately that good. Yeah, and they did it justice. It's the fact that it's been over 10 years before they brought this thing back. I think they've done a really good job to celebrate bringing that back. So
let me ask you this, to Everborn's point, and I actually think I do see where he's coming from there, right? Those who didn't want to upgrade because of speeds and feeds, because of graphic fidelity, those who need to be enticed by a specific game, those are the ones jumping in now, right? Because they weren't jumping in because of the stuff that were offered. By that logic, does the Series S win the day because that's the cheapest way to get in?
You know what? I think that's an interesting point, and I was actually thinking about that this week because it's funny because I was listening to like some talk shows and stuff like that. It's a sports talk shows, not gaming even, and they're talking about jumping back into consoles after not having one for a long time. And it's and I'm guessing if you're one of those people or if you're casual, then yeah, you're probably now. I think the advantage. Sony's still going to have all the brand name stuff, right? They're still going to be the go-to brand that everybody goes to, but all other things considered, if you are that casual that you just like, I want to go play some college football again. I used to play that game back in the day. A Series S is probably that is probably a good avenue there. And yeah, like if you're somebody who's been playing on a 1080 machine or, and even last generation, we know that the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X really were a small segment of the consoles out there. The people that care about that stuff generally upgraded already. So now it is legitimate. It is literally going to be about the games. The thing that I wonder, and I don't actually have this answer, but I kind of go back and forth on this because we don't see the strategies and things. How important is it for we'll say Microsoft specifically, because I don't know, we know less about Sony's thoughts. They're kind of just, I think they're just kind of starting to turn around a little bit with some of their thinking. But how important is it to get people to upgrade? Like we always we talk about like the console sales and how they're falling down and how important it is, and then you hear, but the active users is as high as it's ever been, and even Sony, for all their sales, have said that their active users are even with where they were last gen, but the difference is they're selling them more stuff, right? So I guess the question is, does that matter a ton if those gamers really aren't going to buy the single player next gen only stuff anyways, right? Like they'll probably upgrade when more when Call of Duty goes next gen only, and then when GTA's here. But is that going? It'd be interesting to see if that really does anything for the rest of the equation. I guess for Microsoft with Game Pass, it may, right? Because you got Call of Duty on Game Pass there. But I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like, how important is that even? Especially if you got another gen around the corner, and especially if they think, streaming could be viable to some casuals, and somewhere in the nearish future. I don't think they're there yet with the xCloud version or whatever they call it these days. But if they are going to be turning the corner soon, with an upgraded, servers and all that other stuff, with the next generation, do they care if people skip this gen and go straight from Xbox One straight into streaming or something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I was going, right? I do agree with Everborn on the fact that it would, like, presumably it would be advantageous for the console with the least buy-in cost to win here. But specifically with Microsoft and Xbox, since they've already diversified their content offerings across so many different platforms, would they really care? I mean, PlayStation 100% cares, right? They don't want you on PS4 anymore. They want you on PS5. So that's different. But Xbox, I'm not sure about.
Firstly, good morning, Mr. OBM. How are you, sir? Thank you for joining us.
I am good. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
I was just telling what? While y'all are talking, I'll go do what you were doing, Everborn. Keep going. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. But because we're not doing the sort of binary thinking, just because a company may be well diversified does not mean that they don't care about a specific area, right? And so what does that mean? We think that because in this community, we think, well, because you're trying to speak to a broader audience, because you happen to have some very high profile third-party games, that must mean you don't care about your home platform, right? Because as the one and only Talladega Nights said, if you're not winning, you're losing, right? If you're not first, you're last. And so,
although we did learn at the end of the movie that he was drunk when he said that, but anyways,
sure.
That setting was
most of the people that we talk to on the timeline are drunk as well. So
yeah, they are. They have
kind of tracks. But just because you're trying to maximize your reach with certain titles does not mean that you don't care at all and you don't want to grow. And it comes back to, they've got their ecosystem. They are trying to grow that while also maximizing the amount of users they have for those several black hole games that they have. So I just don't think it's fair to say because they are doing this multi-pronged approach means they don't care about one of the prongs. Like we hyper care about one prong, right? Like we're super focused on that. And they do care about it, but they're also looking to grow in other avenues. And again, they are very sort of ham-fisted with their messaging, I'd say. So it seems like to us they're not saying the words we want to hear. But if you look at and Kay says this all the time, if you look at what the competition's doing, they're just kind of making the same decisions just like 3 to 5 years later, right? But no one would accuse them of, well, they don't care about their growing their console base. It's just you care about that, but you need to grow in other areas as well. It's
Well,
possible to
I
do
think
both.
that, yeah, I think that's always the biggest mistake is like the people look at it. Yeah, you said it. I think you said it well with the binary. It's like it's all or nothing. It's like you're either all in or you're all out. And to to give to kind of acknowledge some issues with their approach. It's almost like, I don't know why I always do this. I equate everything to sports metaphors, but like if you're a coach, right? Usually you pick a system. You don't say, "Hey, we're gonna be every system in the league." Like if I'm an NBA team, I'm not going to try to be the Golden State Warriors, the old Chicago Bulls and run the triangle offense. Like you're going to pick your system and master those systems and those philosophies, and then try to impose your will on the other team. And I think it's a lot of the same thing in terms of business, where generally you're going to kind of focus if like that whole jack of trades master of none thing, you try to focus all your efforts into one area and impose your will, kind of dominate those areas. It's very, very difficult to kind of be the jack of all trades and do it extremely well. I think the issue Microsoft usually runs into is that with their philosophies, they want to they want to be the disruptor. They want to like lead. And that's kind of like Nadella's whole thing is like, if we're not going to be able to have that kind of influence on a market, why are we even in the market? Kind of and that's why they closed down some product lines in the past, where they just thought, hey, we're just chasing everybody, we're not really adding anything to this industry. And so when you're kind of the leader, it takes a lot more focus and effort to kind of look at those new areas or where the potential future opportunities are. And so like what an established company like Sony is doing, and they're not alone in this, is hey, let somebody else kind of pave that road, and then we'll move over when it's paved and it doesn't take as much effort to do that. And we saw that same thing happen with Disney, right? Like Disney was like like they didn't even want to sell us their movies on freaking VHS back in the day, if you remember that. Like
Disney Vault.
Yes. The Disney Vaults. And now here they are putting their movies from the theater on their streaming
absolutely
app.
Yep.
So you see things can change. And I think if you feel like and this could be a risk with Sony, because I don't know if their brand is as powerful as Disney. Like I think Nintendo could do that. Like Nintendo can wait and probably has the nostalgia and the IPs to move over to whatever paradigm whenever they feel like it. But I think really what it comes down to in those situations is IP. But yeah, moving back to what you were saying though, I'm off on all these tangents because I'm waking up with coffee and everything's just going on at once. Go ahead.
Well, let me bring you back home, OBM. Mm-hmm. The thing is this, and I said this when we first started this show. Kay, you will remember this. I believe that the concept of generations died once the console manufacturers went over to x86.
I don't disagree with you on that. We've been saying that for a minute. Yes, sir.
I think we're kind of on the same page.
Because we are now in a world of min spec.
Consoles are marketing terms, not technical, actual bespoke hardware anymore.
But again, it used to be where you had bespoke hardware and people had to kind of lock in and then pick a lane, and we're going to develop, Power PC, cell processor, and then before that, whatever the OG Xbox and the PS2 were using the Emotion Engine, and then you had what the Dreamcast was doing.
OG Xbox was using Windows 2000 with Windows Embedded.
Right, but they were the only ones doing that at that time. Right?
Yeah.
And if you
they also put it on Dreamcast, Windows CE. They put it on Dreamcast as well. But yes,
right, which is why so many ports came from the Dreamcast to the OG Xbox. But the point is, at that time, generations kind of made sense. We're completely updating the hardware architecture. Now you're just getting bigger numbers of the same thing. And this is why you see nearly every game that comes out on console also comes to PC, because the architecture is so similar. And that started with the PS4 and the Xbox One, and now it just continues. So it everything again is always going to go to PC because it's just a matter of profiling at this point. And so we'll just get to a point where when you sell enough of a specific configuration, then you can make games that just target that and higher, and then the oldest one will fall off. Just like your phone, it'll be a certain amount of years old and it won't get the latest iOS or Android update because they only go back so far. Yep. And that's really what we're moving towards. So it's not like you're going to sell hardware over time. And so this is why I come back to it. Sony can tell you we have 100 and whatever million monthly active users because half of them are in PS4. And this is why Xbox can tell you, well, we have more console players than ever because half or more than half of them are on the VCR and they're still playing every month because they're playing FIFA, Madden, and these things. So but again, all our journalists and everyone else on the timeline only looks at things and says, well, you sold 27 million and you sold 50 whatever million, therefore that's all it is. And it's not so simple because again, the business is selling the software.
Right.
That's the business. I don't care how you look at it, right? Whether you use
and
the
it
hardware
seems like
to lock
console
people
players
into,
it seems like console players forget that sometimes. They think the business is selling the consoles, and it's not. If they could sell you the games without the consoles, they would, because they take a loss every time they sell you a console. They want to just sell you the software.
And you can take it a step further, and this kind of goes to some of the topics we've had over the last few months. But if the only thing you do is buy a console, and they sell it to you at a loss, let's say, Microsoft sells you the Series X at $400, you're somebody who's, mostly a PlayStation game, and you're like, Fable looks good. I used to be on the 360. I'll go ahead and pick up this deal, and Microsoft loses $150 on that. And then you buy Fable. You don't subscribe to Gold because you play, PlayStation's your primary platform or whatever. And maybe you buy a couple games over 3 years, or maybe you buy Fable and a couple games that are really cheap on sale, and you spent like, let's say you barely spent that $150 back. Like Sony would have been way further ahead selling you Fable at a and I'm not saying they're going to do this, but I'm just telling you, explain the business side of this thing.
You said
people
Sony selling you Fable? You mean?
Well, or somebody buying it on a PlayStation at 70 at a them losing that 30% cut would have been more profitable than selling you a console as a secondary device. And I can flip that around and even use it because PlayStation for me is kind of like that, right? Like I've gamed mostly on Xbox over 20 years. I got now I have a PC, so I kind of bounce back between those two things. PC a bit more these days, but my PlayStation usually I bought the digital when it first came out, and I know they were selling that at a loss at the time. I don't know that they've really made that much money on me, right? Like if they would have sold me a couple copies of their games on Steam, they would have been more profitable than they were selling me that console. And now I have to decide, do I want to just kind of go over here, leave my friends list, use the controller I don't want to use, so I have bought a couple games there, but I probably would have bought more if they were like day one, right? On the PC. And so these are the things people are struggling to understand, and both, the audiences for both PlayStation and Xbox and the media doesn't really understand, I think, the business models in it. And that's fine, except that they talk about the business so much, but they don't seem to understand that aspect of it, in that a console sale is not, it's not even a really good metric by itself. Like you really, the reason why the number of active users on the thing is really a much better metric is because those are the people that are actually profitable and spending that month, right? They're the ones you assume are, you know, buying the software or at least engaging in these games to build up the communities where people spend money in those communities. So, you know, like the active user is much more important within the ecosystem, assuming that it's the same ecosystem. I know like sometimes there's some fluff if you're trying to bring in the PC stuff because it's not really a accurate representation of what you have in console. But at some point down the road, whether you are, you know, if you're accessing the entire ecosystem through the cloud, for example, down the road, that is as valuable as somebody who's on a console if you're still spending the money, right? Like it may not be as good of an experience, but if you can get people buying NCAA football, you know, through cloud down the road, or, you know, buying GTA skins through cloud down the road, you know, that stuff's going to be as valuable as if they were doing it through a console, which most of the time they're going to lose money on the console. And so, yeah, I think that just kind of brings it back. That's why I always wonder, it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. You know, it's cool that Microsoft sold some more Series S's, but their active users might still be exactly the same. Those might have been just like gamers who were playing Madden this whole time, and now they went ahead and they upgraded the Series S so they can play NCAA football as well. So yeah, it's good that they now have the ability to buy a few more games, but it doesn't necessarily change. Like people are like, well, how can they do this more? How can we get more, you know, more of them to buy the new console? And that only becomes a problem. Like if people are on Xbox One, it only becomes an issue if you start having a bunch of new games that they maybe would have bought that only run on next gen, and now they're not buying that stuff. But generally, like if there's something that happens like that, they just will upgrade, you know, at the time that it makes sense for them. So yeah. Anyways,
let me interject and quickly point out that I put a poll in the chat. It's a little derivative. Like it lacks detail. I understand. Don't come for me, pragmatic eagle. I know. I know. But like we here on this show and in this chat tend to be a Venn diagram of, you know, those who either are console mains and play on PC, or those who are PC mains and also play on console. So I put a question out just to get a temperature of our community and ask the question: would you upgrade your console if that was the only way to play your favorite franchise, a la GTA 6, right? Or in this case, football, right? And obviously the answers are yes, the answers are no, or I'll wait till it comes on PC, because they inevitably all come on PC, maybe a year or two later. Let's see what the community says. So far, it's overwhelmingly yes, but you know, we shall see where we are with it. We shall see where we are with it. But okay, I know you, OBM. I know you were playing the NCAA, right? You said this is one of the best football games. Any other games that have been keeping you busy this week, sir?
It's that and Elden Ring. I got to the final boss. I got to the final boss and realized I needed a lot more Shadow Tree fragments. So I have to go exploring, and that is my biggest issue with the DLC. It was great up until I realized the map sucks and I don't know how to get to certain parts of the map to go explore more. So I think what I have to do is treat it like a job. You know the people that like have to 100% every game, and so they go online and then it tells them research everywhere they got it. Yeah, it's like, doesn't that feel like you're working? I don't know. That's like, I hate playing games that way. So, but that's where I'm at. I'm way under leveled because this dude is just wasting me. Like a couple shots and I'm down. So he takes out my I don't have any pride here. You know, I bring my my mimic tier in there into the battle and everything. He gets wasted pretty quickly. It's a mess. So that's where I'm at. Those two games are what's got all my time right now.
So it's actually funny you mentioned Elden Ring. I had to wait till the DLC came out, and then I started playing the base game. I'm actually pretty far now in the base game. I'm actually pretty far now. It's only as you all know, I tend to love my indie games. So a few indie games have taken my time away, but I have been playing regular Elden Ring. Yeah, I've been jumping in. I'm walking around. I think I even showed it off and cheap plug. I did some I did some review videos of Fire Stick, the Fire TV Stick, Amazon Fire Stick. Both one showing off the original one, and I also found software called Better xCloud that I installed, and it gives you a little bit more capabilities with the Fire Stick. So I did a video on that as well. That's on this channel. If you go look it up, it's under the tech drop section. But even in that video, I did stream a little bit of Elden Ring, and I was showing my fire and ice build. I called my fire and ice build because I have two swords. One that shoots fire, the other one that shoots ice. So I walk around just like, doing that. But I'm enjoying myself in the world because I know if I go to a boss right now, I'm gonna have to like replace one of them with a shield again, because no boss can be handled without a shield. At least not in my experience so far. But yes,
well, it depends on how old you are. Yeah, it's
yes.
I don't know if you've started to feel it, Kay. Like you going back to the sports thing, like when does a sports player start to realize they lost a step and stuff? I feel like over the last few years, I started to realize, man, I'm just not. I used to have some badass skills, man, and now I'm carrying my big shield, mimic tier, like here and there. It's like I got no pride. It's about outsmarting the game. It's changing. Oh man,
Mr. Everborn Saga Star, how about you?
Yes,
I know you've been building games. You've been getting your ports port on and all of that. Did you have any chance to play any games?
I played quite a few games. Only for
real
a few
quick,
minutes each.
Let's quickly call out the great Luke Lore. He's in the chat. Shut up, sir. 40 was some years ago for me. Don't do that.
40. I wish I was really good when I was 40. You got no excuse,
right?
Luke.
Right? You lucky still, bro. Calm down. Welcome. I'm sorry, Everborn. Go ahead.
All right. So
I could have kicked some ass at 40, but anyways, okay, keep going.
Since 40 was the good old days,
right?
But
cherish it.
So since you guys know I'm back on the wagon, working on the game again, working on the port of the 2015 game. We're bringing it to new phones and Steam and all those places or whatever.
Nice.
But I have been playing a bunch of 2D platformers on Steam because a lot of them went on sale.
Yeah.
So one of them is 30XX, which is basically
30XX. Okay.
Yeah. Or it's 30XX. I don't know how they want you to say it, but
okay.
It is.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a Mega Man style game, like through and through, because Capcom won't give us a sequel to Mega Man, so it's left up to other people to do it, like that game Berserk Boy. But yeah, you look at this and you see all the Mega Man roots, and it's very cool in what they're doing. And it's no slouch either. I mean, you're watching it on screen. I'm sure he'll shoot the arm cannon soon. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I love the mechanics, and I might steal some of them. But but it's
so what you're doing is what you're doing is you're playing homework right now. This is what you're doing. You're doing some homework.
Yes, this is all homework.
I understand.
It's just like Elden Ring's a job, right? These games are homework. So then the next one, again, very similar to Mega Man, is Gravity Circuit. And what makes that one different is there's a grappling hook mechanic where you can swing onto anything, and they do some very cool platforming mechanics on that. And again, I'm only a few minutes into each. The next one is Lords of Exile, which is like NES and Sega Master System level. Like it's not even 16-bit era. It's like you have it's like it makes what's the name of this game? Anyway, there's basically, it's like Altered Beast vibes. Like you look at it, you look at the style, you'll see when you're playing it, but like it's super old school. Even
yeah,
you can see this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This takes me back, even though I've never played it. This is amazing.
Right. So this one I tried out for a little bit. Story's actually pretty interesting too. It's like a revenge tale and things like that.
I love the rain. It reminds me of Shadow
yeah.
Dancer. I don't know if you played Shadow Dancer. It reminds me of Shadow Dancer.
Yep, I did on the Genesis, right?
Yes, sir.
It rings a bell. I think I'd have to see Shadow Dancer to tell you.
It's great. It's great. I love it. Like it's a ninja
It's like a
story,
Shinobi.
boy and girl. It's exactly
like a
yes.
Yeah, Shinobi spinoff or something.
Absolutely. Yep.
So then I moved on to Souldiers. That's like with a soul, SOUL, DIERS. That one has a very, it's actually a very intriguing story. I just got started on that one right before bed last night. It's probably why I slept so late today, but that's neither here nor there. But that's another interesting It's more like a Metroidvania, more so than a Mega Man or an old school, NES Genesis kind of game. But very.
Yo, Mainland. You guys just made me feel very young. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I can make your day. You're welcome.
So
now get off my lawn.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. I like the visuals and the art. They put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, it looks that way.
And again, like I said, it's more of a Metroidvania than the other ones. And then there are two more games, but I can't really speak on them because one I didn't start yet, but I downloaded it, and the other I played for maybe 20 minutes, which is Flintlock has not been started, but it will be later this weekend.
Yeah, I need to start that properly too.
Dungeons of Hinterberge.
You know what? I was about to download that thing too. That does look, as soon as I finish off Elden Ring, that's going to be next up. That and the new Path of the Goddess both look really cool. Like they dropped a few new games into Game Pass that are really interesting. And then I also heard something really good about another game that was like a new studio. It's not on Game Pass, although you get a little discount for it. It's like $20. God, what was it? Never Say Die, or I don't know if I'm getting that right, but
nobody wants to die.
Nope, nobody wants to die. Yeah,
yep.
I've heard really good things about that from everybody who's played that as well, and that's like a 6-hour narrative-driven. Really, from what I've heard from people, it's really unique. That it doesn't really rely on a lot of action, but it's really immersive. So, and it's a first-time developer, so I'm really curious about that game as well. So there's the problem these days is there's just like I have like what I call like my on base, like batter's box kind of thing for all my next up games, and that keeps getting loaded up, and I'll never, if they stop releasing games for the next 5 years, I'll never really probably get caught up with everything I want to try.
To that end, this is a graybeard talk, but
which all our conversations tend to be.
The way my schedule is set up, I probably have an hour to 2 per night that I'm stealing away from my sleep that I can game, right? And so that's 7 to 10 hours per week that I can play a game. So if a game is 40 hours, if a game is 100 hours, we're talking about months, right? and this is why the moment I get to a game that feels like it's wasting my time, you're banished to Shadow Realm. I can't do it, right?
Yep.
And I need people to come with their A game, and this is why. And this is not saying like, oh, I only want to play like big AAA games. I rarely play those. You have to be like the best of the best in AAA for me to even look in your direction. But for me, when you say a 6-hour game, I'm like, let's go.
Yep.
I need more
let's go.
6-hour games that I can play 1-2 hours
point.
a night and be done in a week. Like that's what I want in order to play more. And again, once we come, and like people are talking about Concord and stuff like that. Concord was never Foreverborn, just like Destiny I mean, after the first one that I have countless hours in, but any of these service games, that's a non-starter for me. Anything where the whole point is just to play, you're done. But as I was saying, Dungeons of Hinterberge, I really, really enjoy the art style. I don't, the combat, again, I only did the opening, so it's kind of like a tutorial. So that's why it was so easy. So I need to play it some more. I do wish it was voice acted. But it works great on the deck, right? And Path of the Goddess, we also have to talk about. Okay, there's several things here. Sorry, don't mean to rant. The idea that Game Pass in a single week would release Path of the Goddess, Flintlock, and Dungeons of Hinterberge, which to me all scratch the same itch, which is action, melee focused, single player games, right? All right up my alley, all look interesting. You can't put them out all in the same week and expect.
Oh, hold on one second, real quick. Game Tech Talk is in the chat now. For those who don't know who Game Tech Talk is, as you guys have already heard, I'm super excited about my handheld that's coming out soon, the X1 player. This man did an amazing review of that. He was able to get himself a review copy, and I reached out to him in the DMs. I'm like, hey man, you got to come and chat with us some games, and we're gonna have him on the show somewhat soon if we can. But salute to you for being here, sir. And yes, we need to communicate. I want to get you on the show. We need to talk games with you. I think his name is Cliff, out of Canada. Salute to you. Great work. Please, people, if you can, go check out his stuff. He does amazing work. I was super impressed with his review. So salute to you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry, everyone. I just had to call him out.
Now, you want to talk about Graybeard Gaming. The reason why I was saying I wish that Dungeons of Hinterberge was voice acted, I am at a certain age, and my eyes are at a certain age where...
Oh, no. Again, don't go down that path.
No. Here's the thing. I am playing on the Steam Deck. It runs great. Right, I'm playing Dungeons of Hinterberge, and even some of those 2D platformers I was telling you about. When I'm reading all that text in the dark, playing on the handheld, my eyes begin to hurt, actually hurt.
I understand
reading that text on a screen, and so I used to be able to just say I'm gonna put on the glasses that I use for work.
The bifocals. Go ahead, say it. The bifocals.
Actually, what's funny enough, the glasses aren't. They're not like my sight is good, right? Like 20/20, but it's the blue light that hurts my eyes because I look at a screen all day. So I have prescription lenses, but they're only to kill the blue light. They're not to make anything more legible, which is weird. For now, the site's gonna go. But this is a new thing that I'm noticing. I read text in like RPGs and stuff, especially like the old school ones like Sea of Stars and things like that. And if I'm playing at night on the handheld, looking at the screen, even though it's an OLED and it's really clear blacks, like it's actually starting to burn my eyes, even with the glasses, and I got to put it down. And so because I'm old, I need more voice acted games.
And the game I'll be talking about, I have the same problem. Keep going.
And then so I play that. It is interesting. The combat is, I thought it was gonna be like Zelda, but it's more like with Dungeons of Hinterberge. Like the art style is Zelda-ish, cell shaded 3D. The combat style is, and I didn't expect it to be. It's not as robust as a Zelda game, but still serviceable. But they do lock you off into areas when you fight, right? So it's like, it's not like just full open world, go anywhere. It's more like an open zone, and then when you get into a combat situation, there's like a barrier around you, so you can't leave the combat zone. So we'll see. I'm gonna come back to Dungeons of Hinterberge, and then we'll see. I don't think the Steam Deck is gonna run Flintlock well, so I'm gonna wait till the ROG Ally X comes on Monday.
Actually, sir, you will be surprised. I actually tried the demo. I tried the demo of Flintlock before it was the final build, and I was like shocked at how well that demo ran on the deck. So you would be surprised, sir. Yes.
Maybe I'll download it. Well, we'll see, because I need something to test.
It ran damn well.
on.
Like, and this is the deck LCD, not even the deck OLED. It ran damn well on that thing. So there you go.
I don't know if John Wolf is listening, but this is the CCP trying to talk me out of using the ROG Ally X. Just
bro, calm down. You have a deck. You have a deck. I said I've played it and it runs well. Calm down.
Okay. And the last thing I'll say, this is another game that I want to recommend to everyone, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I think a lot of our audience would be interested. There's a game called Salaco. I don't know if you can get that on the screen.
Salaco. Okay,
they are using the old Doom engine. Right, the tech from that, where it is, they're giving you a 3D representation, but it is 2D. It's all 2D with sprite sheets.
Listen to this man coming out with them indie killers, man, and it looks good too. Look at you. All right.
Right. Well, watch when they shoot a gun. It's and this is all like, it's actually pixel art, believe it or not. Like,
it is. I'm looking at it. It's amazing looking. Look at that.
But wait till somebody pulls out a gun and you'll see, like, they hand drew all these animation using pixel art. It's really good, and
it's 3D pixel art. It's amazing.
Yeah. And if you remember the old school Doom, that's the tech they're using, and they make it really, really work. So check this out if you can. It's gonna give you all the feels, and sometimes it's so good you don't even realize it's not 3D, right? Like,
oh wow,
this is really, they do some really cool stuff
looking.
with the
wow.
Yeah, I learned about this one from Digital Foundry, because they just did sometimes they'll do a deep dive on a game that they like. But if you can check this out, check it out. It works on the deck, I believe. If you're a Steam Deck.
So that's not 3D? Are you sure?
That's not 3D.
No. Well, it is 3D.
Doom.
It's 3D, but it's using the Doom 2D engine. It's all pixels.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is wild.
So
that's crazy.
And it's really, really cool. And I think it's only like $30. Like,
oh wow.
Go get this if you can. It will be worth your time. It's gonna take you back to a time when the world made sense. If you're a great kid. But it's very cool, and you can interact with almost anything. Check it out if you can. It's very
so
very
Everborn, before we move on, I will remind you. I will say, right? I have invited you. I have invited MJ Dark, a few other folks, to the GCP group in Steam. I actually did that yesterday or this morning. This is the reason exactly why I did that, because there are lots of really interesting games that are coming out. There's so many games, obviously, so many games that we can't all know play the same thing. And sometimes out of nowhere, MJ Dark, as you know, will drop a gem, and like you are dropping gems here today. And I want you guys to put that into the group. You can link it in Steam so more people can check it out. I did send you that invite. Go check it out and go become a member of it. And I will promote it to the community at large when we start filling that thing up.
Can you highlight BT Mavericks? It's true. It's true. Voice acting is an accessibility feature now. 1,000%.
Absolutely, sir. But you know what? On that topic, let me tell y'all what I've been playing, because I think you're going to see a theme here. There's a theme forming here today. And what I've been playing this week is a game that I've really, really enjoyed, and it's called Gestalt, Steam and Cinder. So I will first and foremost say that the game was provided, a code was provided to me by the developers. Metaphoraxis, I think is the Metamorphosis. I'm sorry, Metamorphosis Games. So thanks to Metamorphosis Games for sending me that code. I've been trying it out. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give this a try and talk about it on the show. Maybe write a review for it on thegamercircle.com. And it has taken my life. Like I said, I was all in on Elden Ring. I stopped playing Elden Ring because of this game. Now, the reason why I did is because I know this is a short experience, right? Beginning, middle, and end in a relatively short amount of time, so that I can go back to the world exploring that is Elden Ring. But this game is awesome. I love this game. It is so good. So good. The elevator pitch for it is that it is a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania. And
Wow.
basically, it's like, I would also add RPG in there because it's got a lot of RPG elements as you go. So you there's a big narrative, there's a huge lore that they delivered to you, and basically the what keeps me going in this is the combat system. It's got very interesting combat with a good dodge. You're adding more and more combat systems to your arsenal as you go along. You're this redheaded in this world that you're this redheaded. I guess you could call it a bounty hunter. Like she walks around. She's got a gun. She's got a sword, and they tell you. And of course, they're doling out the story as you see right now. They tell you about how the world used to be, and how they needed to don this power and this armor in order to defeat this big bad. And in order to do that, they themselves became corrupted, and now all those who donned that armor are now considered big bads themselves, and now they're threatening to corrupt the land. It's a big, deep story with lots of ins and outs and lots of twists and turns. It's really, really cool. But the moment to moment of it, where you have missions, right? You go, you talk to friends, they give you missions. There's literally a journal that gives you access to all your missions. There's also bounty hunter work that you can take. You go into the middle of the world and you'll find a robot. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention, it's a steampunk world. So Steam and Cinder, it's a very steampunk world. So there are like killer robots all around, as well as old school, it's almost like it gives you the dialogue and the way the aesthetic kind of reminds me of Firefly, the TV show, if you recall, right? The way they talk, the way the swagger of some characters, they're all in kind of like old school Western flair, but then there's robots as well. That obviously that's the steampunk aesthetic, but it is very, very cool. Like I'm really, really enjoying my time with it. You can pick up lots of drops in the world where like there are certain drops that it has hard combat, like not impossible. It's not hard, but it's the lightest of Souls-like, right? So you're walking around, you always have 2 flasks, and you can increase your flask input if you get permanent buffs on it. And you at any moment you can take your flask and it'll regenerate your health, but you only have 2 to start with. And the wrong move, if you don't dodge at the right time, they're gonna murk you and you're done. And then you have to go back to a starting point, which I'll be honest with you, some of those starting points, some of the checkpoints can be a little brutal if you've been exploring and haven't hit another checkpoint, because it's not open world. Obviously it's a 2D side scroller, but you can go so many directions that if you're not careful and you don't look for it, you won't find another checkpoint. So it'll take a while for you to find another checkpoint. So you're in it, you're running around, finding all these interesting things, doing all this stuff. And if you get hurt, you're going all the way back. It's a platformer as well. Like it's really, really, really interesting. Now, the reason why I say that there's a theme here, and of course, obviously you guys notice there's a theme here, the theme of all of us tending to play these 2D games. I'll kind of scroll through and see if I can get to a bit more gameplay for folks to see. But the reason why I say that this is a theme here is this is also a non voice acted, all written. You have to read the story, and the story is very good, but it's also very, very dense. A lot of verbiage, a lot of weird, odd names and references to cities and towns and other worlds and universes. It's very heavy on the lore, right? And sometimes you're looking at this back and forth for some time.
Like a Brandon Sanderson novel.
Kind of.
You're familiar with the
Kind of. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that is, if I have criticism so far, that is my criticism. Like, because it's not voice acted, you spend a lot of time in this view that you're looking at right here with two folks chatting, right? See, so this is the first time you hit that. What you saw there was they use that as checkpoints, but the first time she touches one of those things, it shoots her to a previous world or a different world, and she doesn't know how she got there, and now she's going to discover it. It's such deep
Is there
lore.
Is there any RPG elements? Like this thing on the surface looks so RPG. Like,
many RPG elements. Yes.
Okay.
Like you're growing your level, your weapons are maturing, your skill set is growing through time. There's a huge RPG system. Yes, it's a big mashup. Yes, absolutely it is. They shot their shot with this one. It was really ambitious in their thoughts. You know. Go ahead, everyone. You were saying.
I was just back to my old man eyes. When you tell me all of this text and lore, I don't know if this is gonna work for me, because it's not voice acted.
But see, this is the thing, right? What I will tell you is, if this game was not as good as it was, I may not spend as much time in it, because there's a lot of lore to read through. There's a lot to understand, but I'm really enjoying it. Both the story is really good and the actual gameplay is damn good.
Is great.
It's great. When she's walking, just the hair animation alone, it's like, oh, chef's kiss. It's so well done. And there's more and more, and they diversify the enemy types up a lot. So you're playing. I think I'm about 7-8 hours in right now. You're playing. You're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an enemy type shows up that you haven't seen for the last 8 hours or 10 hours you've been playing, and it's just like everywhere. It's fantastic. They did such a good job with this game, and it's on everything. Just so you know, it's on everything. Old school. It's on your Switch. It's on your PS4. It's on your Xbox. It's on Steam. I got a Steam code for this, so it is quite good. It's called Gestalt. I love that name. It's called Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder, and I got a code for it, so I appreciate them providing me that code. I will continue to play this. I have really been enjoying myself with this game, and I can't stop recommending it to people. I will say, as he always tends to do, Mr. MJ Dark also was playing this and was like, bro, you need to play this game. This game is awesome. And yeah, he was not wrong. Like, and I will show you the Steam page here. Some of the big bads, the boss fights, really awesome. I actually beat this boss, the boss you're looking at right now. It took me like 5-6 tries, because it gets hairy, you know, but it's really good, like really good. I was seriously impressed with this game, and the platforming is really good. The level design is super interesting, and of course the story is really good and deep. If I had one criticism, I just wish that it was voice acted properly. I wish it was voice acted, because I feel like it would be so much better if it was voice acted.
This is gonna sound like a sin, right? But I don't care. In this case, because I understand it's an indie game, it's a small budget.
Yeah.
Maybe like the AI can be expressive with the voice.
Hey,
I was thinking about it. I didn't want to be the one to like start that part of the show. I was thinking about it the whole time you said
nobody's gonna get to work anyway, and so it's not taking the job away from anybody. Throw some AI voice acting in there. I'll deal.
So to your question, OBM, here's basically the upgrade tree, and it gets hairy, sir. Like, you can really go deep on your RPG systems, on your weapon combat, on growing your health meter and the type of weapons you have, and making them do even more, you know, as you go along, and you're picking up a bunch of stuff in the world in order to help you achieve that. There are stores you can buy, you know, different either consumables or permanent upgrades. It is quite good. Like, I'm really enjoying it.
I just bought it. You sold me on it, even though I'm gonna have to.
Well, Everborn, this should be part of your homework.
You know, if only our digital libraries would carry over to our next lives. You know.
Well done, sir.
Can the AI fix that? I don't know.
And for my handheld users out there, as you can see, the game runs on everything. Even your OG Ally, it will sip battery, because it's very low on the TDP. You can put it to the lowest. You can put it on silent and keep playing, and you'll be playing for at least 3-4 hours. It's very good, very entertaining, and it doesn't require so much resources. So once again, before we move on, the game is called Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. I recommend it. I hope more people play it. It's really cool. So there's that. Let me catch up on a couple super chats real quick. Now, of course, whenever we're talking graybeards, the OG graybeard here is in the house. Sir X-Men himself. He's been a member for 1 month. Thank you so much, sir. He says, I will always play my new Xbox and on my PC. Facts. There you go. See, it ain't gotta always be one or the other. You know, maybe you want to play. You know, some games are better here, some games are better there. I actually want to play. I want to play the Dungeons of Hinterberge on the Xbox. I have a feeling that the Series X and S will make that game shine. I mean, I could play it on Steam, and I probably on the handheld, and I probably will do that as well. But I have a feeling that the Dungeons of Hinterberge, just the way that game flows to me, feels good on a console. I may give that a shot. And the great MJ Dark with a $5 super chat. He says, recommendation: Bo, Path of the Real Lotus. Nobody Wants to Die. Let's see. Mefumado. Escape from Ever After Onboarding. So all games that he recommends. Now, what I would say is, do not sleep on this man's recommendations. Many games you've heard me rave about on this show either came from him or he talked about with me after I'd already started playing it. The man knows his indies. He knows his gems. He's about that life. So MJ Dark, I don't know if you heard me, if you were listening on the show. I have sent you a link to our group, which I started a small group, which maybe I'll show that off as well. I know that there are lots of places that we communicate, lots of places lots of the places that we may or may not need access to in order to communicate in the gaming sphere. I also created this group some time ago, but I haven't put too much energy into it. It's the GCP and the GPG group, you know, a group where anybody plays any of these gems, any of these interesting games that you may or may not necessarily have heard of. You know, you put them in here and you can, you know, more people can get access to it. More people can discover it. More people can listen to it, watch it, get an idea of what games that we have been keeping us busy. So I figure, you know, I'll put this out there and let more people find it. So right now, I've populated the group a little bit. You'll see some of my recommendations in the libraries and whatnot. So, you know, these are the games that I have populated, and I put a little bit of a blurb in there. But if you guys have a chance to, and this is for anybody in Steam, you know, join the group. Let's have a chat. And I hope more folks can put these indie gems that you find in here, so I can have more games to play when I'm looking around and saying, hey, what's the next one I want to play? You know, I figured this might be a great way to do that. So thank you, MJ Dart, and thank you for your recommendations as usual. MASH gifting 10 more memberships. This man is prolific. Thank you, MASH. We appreciate you for being here. We appreciate all your support. Always gifting great amount, being supportive. He's actually gifted a bunch of members and a lot of the great shows that we like to watch. You know, a lot of the great communities that we consider ourselves a part of. So thank you, Mash, for being here and for doing that. Always cool. Thank you so much, man. So yeah, man, it's been a week of indie flair, a week of non-AAA bangers, as it were. You know, I think it's a good thing. The more and more we play in these waters, the better. And I feel like I've always been the person that always thinks that these kind of games, when you play them and you give them and you shed light on them, these directly benefit the developers making it more than AAAs. Maybe I might be a little Pollyanna in my pursuits on that, but I've always thought that hey, you know, if you show off this game and you show off these creators who are maybe small in it, right, that more people would play it and they actually can eat off of that, and it's not this conglomerate type of situation. So I'm always happy to show off these games that these indies produce. But okay, let us set this up and let's start this thing proper. We're not going to be too long today. I think I want to keep it concise now. Of course, the second I say that,
you said that,
you know,
last week.
But, and then you invited me.
I'll keep you to your word, because I got a contractor coming over at 1:30
There you go.
to look at the other.
There you go. So we're gonna
Right.
keep it concise. But we're gonna get through these things as quickly. I found a few topics I thought was interesting that I thought maybe we would discuss on the show. First of which is that the Mortal Kombat developer Netherrealm is hit with massive layoffs. Now, of course, every time there are layoffs around here, you know, yes, it is part of the business. Unfortunately, it's become more and more part of the business. But I refuse to let these things just come and go without notice. I refuse to let these things come and go without and at least mentioning them. So we don't have to get too deep into them. You'll actually see that there's there's a theme going to be developing in this as well. But yeah, NetherRealm, and they've been great with the DLC, right? They recently released a new character for Mortal Kombat. I'll be honest, I actually fell off of Mortal Kombat. I have the statue. I bought the deluxe edition with the statue. I have my Liu Kang literally in my shelf behind me. I've always thought, you know what, these games, I need to step away. When I come back in a month, 2 months, 5 months, then there'll be a lot more players, a lot more DLC characters that I can sink my teeth into. And it looks like I'm not wrong. There's so many like DLC characters now. Last I checked, there was Omni-Man and a few others. It's really, really cool. I don't know, Everborn, let me start with you, sir. Have you tried Mortal Kombat? You know, it's par for the course as far as these mass layoffs are concerned.
Like Street Fighter 6, I own Mortal Kombat, but have never
But you haven't played
it. Yes.
Yeah. We need to get back
keep
into
telling
that
myself,
game, man.
I'm gonna do it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I mean, here's the reality, right? The reality is this is somehow, some way related to Microsoft buying Activision. I don't know how, but I'm sure there'll be an article that points to that or the Series S. But on a serious note, I think what the reality is, they were working on this sort of reboot of Mortal Kombat for some time, and they had to staff up in order to do that. And now the game is out, and much of the DLC is out, and you don't need as many people until you're ramping up development on whatever the next iteration of Mortal Kombat is going to be. And so, you know, again, absolutely sucks for those people, but them's kind of the breaks, unfortunately. I'm not trying to be like cold about it, but like, the game is out. They were working on it for several years. You don't need a full staff when you are in pre-production, and they're probably in pre-production on their next project. Someone said Homelander. I don't know what that's in context to, but
no, Homelander's also in the game. Homelander's also in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to say, this season of The Boys has been fantastic. It started
bananas,
out,
bro. Bananas.
I was iffy on it in the beginning. I think they stuck the landing.
Don't talk about the end because I haven't seen the last episode. Stop it.
All I'm saying is return to form. Another fantastic season, even though I think it started off rough. And Mother's Milk needs to grow his beard back because
he looks. It looks like a different actor right now.
Yeah.
But
and Starlight looks weird. Like, what happened to Starlight? I don't know.
She went to the same place that a few other people at the convention. Never. That's whatever that is. Yeah.
Yes.
But the point is, if you haven't watched The Boys this season, if you watched it in the beginning and you were turned off, keep watching it. I promise you, they stick the landing. I want to see if we can talk about that. And this is without spoilers. The Soul Sister character.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, actually,
I think she's brilliant.
No, I mean, she's brilliant. She's supposed to be brilliant,
literally.
Right. That's what her character is. But I don't know that they sell you by the end that.
Okay, I haven't seen the end.
She's all knowing, as you know. They tell you that, and they kind of Sage. Sorry. But they tell you that she's planning all these things and she knows everything, but it's really like she just comes in after the fact and says, yes, I knew the whole time, but they don't really tell you how, and they don't have a connect the dots moment to kind of say they foreshadowed the fact that she knew this stuff. It's just her coming in and saying I knew, and that doesn't really sell her as the smartest character, the smartest being in the world. So I feel like they could fix that. These are not.
I don't think the writing,
because I didn't say it.
Yeah, I don't think the writing has been amazing this season. Like I agree with you that that the last episode was really good and they kind of
get him, Aaron. Get him.
But like they don't really sell like a lot of the character arcs and stuff like that. It feels rushed or not. They don't fill in the details or the like you're saying. I think the character is very interesting and the actress is really good, but the writing around her doesn't really sell her as the smartest person in the world. Like the writers that were writing the plot lines were not the smartest writers in the world, and I think that's one of the issues that they're having.
And that's what manifests.
You have to have when you're doing a character like that, you have to have a connect the dot scene that says, "Oh,
right.
she did this that we didn't understand before because of
the
that."
Ozymandias moment, if you will.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Yes, so by the time you get to the end, there's no connect the dot scene. It is just her saying, "Yeah, I knew the whole time," and that anyone could say that. A stupid person.
But you know what?
Say, yeah, I knew the whole.
You know what? A-Rod is correct, man. Stop with the heavy spoilers, sir.
These aren't spoilers.
Stop it.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. You have no idea what this is in reference to. All I'm saying is there is no connect the dot scene where she explains how and why she knew everything. She just
so that we can stay concise and continue on it. I will first off say the man with one of the best names in the chat, Dr. Dry Rub, member of the chat, member of YouTube. Bruh, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And because you are a member, I get to say your name and it's not slanderous. Thank you, Dr. Dry Rub. Appreciate you for being a member.
Eagle said it in his last chat better than I was explaining.
Okay.
If you yes. Anyone can.
He says anyone can sound smart with the power of hindsight. Of course.
And
I don't disagree on that. Yeah.
That's what the writers have done with that character, and they could have done it better to where I'm like, oh snap, that was in front of me the whole time, and I didn't know. Right? You need to have your Tyler Durden is.
See, there he goes again, spoiling something else. Stop it. You and your spoilers. Stop it.
We're not
move on with the spoilers. So NetherRealm losing a lot of jobs, and then we tie it into, guess what? Bethesda's unionizing, because some people have learned, they're learning that if you don't, you might find yourself in a little bit of a situation, you know. But I bring this part up because I still think it's pretty cool that Microsoft is still full bore in this direction. You know, usually you would think that they would squash it. Yeah.
I mean, it is one of the. It is hopefully. I mean, well, I'm not a super expert in the impacts of industries with unions and like whether they can protect some of these like as Everborn was describing them, like just process layoffs, right? Because that's a lot of what we're seeing these days is like these games have taken through the pandemic 5, 6, 7 years to make. They staffed up for them. They're super expensive. They super expensive projects. And then once you're done, you're not going to, they're just the way that the process is. They're not going to keep all those developers while they're getting ready for the next thing. And I think the issue the industry's been running into recently, and I know we talk, it feels like we talk about it like every few weeks. It's like, another round. And the thing, I mean, we're not seeing behind the scenes, like how fast people get, moved, and if they do to new projects and all that. But I think that the thing that like a lot of people haven't identified is what's changed is like the amount of time it takes now and how big the teams have to be now in full production versus where we were 10 years ago when a AAA game maybe took 3 years. Like, remember when like Halo and Gears and would come out every 3 years, and Forza would be every 2 years, and like you could pump out sequels in 3 years.
Can you imagine that? That's now considered the good old days when Forza was every 2 years. Jeez.
Yeah, and I think back then you really you didn't have this super long ramp up that gets super expensive, right? And when it's at its peak, and now you need like 1,000 developers with all your outsourced things, and and so I think the industry is going to have to figure that out, because I don't think that's not a good cadence for people, in that industry. And over time, you wonder if a lot of people who are very talented in the industry just go, screw it, I'm just going to go to, because if you're a really good game developer, you can probably go into a lot of areas of tech. You're not limited to just gaming. You're probably in gaming because you love it, not because you need to be there. Because I can guarantee you, like where I work, if you came to me and said you were expert coder and knew how to hit milestones, and you could switch over to a lot of different industries. The industry is going to have to figure that out, and I think it is good that they're unionizing, because it's going to force companies to kind of have to maybe figure this out. Like if we can't if we can't just cut a bunch of people after a project's done, you know what, we better be ready. We better have a few teams that have things going on. We better be ready to move. When this project finishes, we better be ready to move a big group of people over to this project. And the big challenge has always been, when there's a lot of different game engines, like you look at like Netherrealm, right? Like different types of games they're working on, different game engines. All these games are in different parts of their production cycles. And it also is like these days with as big and complicated as these games get, I think it's a lot harder to plan, right? Like, and we see that all the time. Like these delays now are like a year, 2 years, and like and we've seen that a lot, especially following a lot of Microsoft stuff. But it's not just limited to them, whether they announce stuff early or not. We know that throughout the industry, there's a lot of projects that that go through a lot of turmoil before they land. So, I think that the industry is going to have to figure this out. And again, is it just like, do we shorten the scope of some of these things? Are we going to be forced to, are we going to be forced to kind of put these out in smaller segments again? Because if you have a 3 to 4 year dev cycle, it's probably easier to manage and make it a little bit more predictable than a 6 to 8 year one that a lot of these companies are going through. And then it's going to come down to then maybe we're going to need to all use the same game engines and things like that. And that's where you're seeing a lot of studios now, even the ones with really good engines, CD Project Red with moving over to Unreal and stuff like that. And
I gotta be honest, that was really sad to me, man. That was so sad to me. That CDPR engine is amazing. Unfortunate.
I feel like Unreal is moving into a place where they're going to be almost in a monopoly when it comes to AAA game engines. And it's going to get that way because with the way things are, it's like, well, if we're not going to be, especially if you get more unionizing and things like that, it's like we're not going to be able to just lay off big swaths of developers. So we're going to have to be ready when we ramp up to go use an external studio. And if we're going to ramp up really quickly, we saw this problem with Halo and 343. We can't train them on a proprietary engine and be cost effective about it, or be efficient about it, or have predictable development with it.
It becomes the de facto engine of gaming at some point. Yep. It really sucks.
So you're going to see that. I think you're going to see Unreal become kind of standard because, hey, everybody knows it. Everybody who comes out of school, or who moves into game development, if they're going to be in AAA, how to, even if you use other engines, how to hit the ground running with Unreal. And I think they're going to have to rethink how this stuff works, because that's what we're seeing now. What we saw is a lot of stuff got delayed over the pandemic. A lot of these plot projects finally are landing or landed, and now that they're done, it's like, okay, dust is settling. We got a lot of people. We're gonna have to cut a lot of people, and that's it. And so that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So we will move swiftly along, and I want to talk about this as well, because I haven't had a chance to talk with you about this, Everborn. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think it's kind of funny. People are coming out in one way versus another. Maybe my opinion won't be the popular opinion, but let me hear what you have to say about this first, which is that Xbox in EMEA, the boss at Xbox EMEA was talking about how they have to fight for marketing dollars and comparing themselves to the market leader, being PlayStation, and how they get the benefit of copious amounts of dollars to market their stuff. And because they, as in Xbox EMEA, does not get the same level of marketing dollars, they have to be tenacious with their marketing, and they have to fight for every bit of funds they get. Now, I don't know if you've heard or you've seen the timeline and what people have responded, but I'd like your thoughts on this. Like, how does this fall to you? What are your thoughts on this? Yeah.
In other news, water wet.
Keep going.
The thing is this: these are things we've all known. Microsoft. You listen. At the end of the day, this sucks for us. Although it doesn't really suck for us because we're already locked in. We know about these things. But in terms of growing, right? Like, Microsoft is a multifaceted company. They play in many different waters. They are a software company, and the fact of the matter is, up until recently, gaming has been one of its smaller footprinted businesses. Right now, they've got Activision, Blizzard, and King. Perhaps that changes, but there's a reason where when the ABK court case documents came out and there were certain leaks, and we saw what the profit margins look like on Sony versus hearing that the accountability margins, and again, there's a lot of accounting mumbo jumbo in there somewhere, but the accountability margins on Xbox have been higher than what the PlayStation's operating income has been. So, and again, how Microsoft calculates accountability margins is, for a wizard to figure out, because they have so many interconnected services that you bill one business, but it's making money for another. So it's a cost here versus a revenue there inside of the same business. But let's not get as far as that. My point is, they are not going to spend as much money, and if they did, maybe they'd sell more consoles, but then maybe they'd have lower margins, and then maybe be less important to the business. And that is
exactly.
Just
you just stole my thing, but yeah,
right.
keep going.
Sorry, but that's just the reality of it. And if we look at how important PlayStation is to Sony's overall bottom line versus how important gaming was to Microsoft's overall bottom line, I think the marketing spend will be relative.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, it sucks. We want everybody to know about Xbox or whatever. What you don't get to do, though, right? Because that's fine. That's the pragmatic approach. What you don't get to do is cry about it now. Right. I don't know what the context is of this interview that Tom Warren got. But like, you don't get to say, well, they get to spend more money than us, and so this, that, and the third. Because you know what? You know who had a much smaller marketing budget in around 1989? Sega versus Nintendo. And they had to be smarter and do things that mattered to get on store shelves. And I know in the age of the internet and social media marketing discussions and targeted marketing and the Netflix style of captive audience marketing, especially when you have something like a Game Pass, I know those equations are different, but it is what it is. They get to spend more. That doesn't excuse you from not doing the basic things that you need to do. Like, for example, having a coherent across the board marketing strategy when one of your studios has a release of a game and the main Xbox account doesn't acknowledge it for 2 days later.
So to be fair,
all these other things.
To be fair, he's talking specifically about Xbox EMEA, right? So they're even a side piece from the main company that you have a problem with,
but
they're even worse. They're lower on the totem pole there.
Xbox for a very long time has always struggled, save for the UK. They've always struggled in Europe, right? And so I'm sure they have a bigger budget in Brazil because that's a large market for them. Obviously, they sell a lot closer to PlayStation in the States. So that budget there, I'm sure, is considerably larger, but they don't sell well over there. And, is it chicken and egg? You don't sell well because you're not doing the marketing, or are you not doing the marketing because you don't sell well? I don't know the answer to that question, right?
Yeah.
But, it is true. They have to figure something out if they want to play in that area. And the more entrenched Sony is, and again, Sony being an electronics company that is already embedded in these markets for other things like televisions and all the other things, They they have different channels and avenues where they can push the PlayStation to that Xbox just doesn't. And again, yes, you are the second or third largest, you flip a coin, company in the world, and you're worth all this money, but you made all that money by knowing where to spend your money and where to make your bets. And so does it help you if they spend all this money for marketing and that takes away from their margins, and so they're less important on the totem pole to the business? Or do they take that money and try to focus on winnable battles, right? Focus on more content, focus on upping the marketing spend in the regions where they are competitive, and win those battles first before expanding out. You know, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, and I think there's.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna just kind of jump in on what Everborn was saying, because I think he definitely hits on some stuff that I'd probably elaborate on a little bit, because like Everborn was saying, it is this whole idea that the big solution is just more marketing. The challenge with more marketing is that you have to have the returns to justify it, right? Like if you double your expenses with marketing and you only get 10% more sales, that was a bad play, and that's probably going to result in some cuts down the road. And like I've mentioned it before, but a few times, but I always go back to the Nadella and Reed Hastings relationship, and him knowing kind of how Netflix worked. And I think, and even initially alluding to some of that, I think Microsoft initially thought that, they saw how Netflix grew. They saw how Netflix did it without traditional marketing, and the content kind of sold itself because of the virality of things. And I think that they thought at some point, hey, we're going to put out all this content and everybody's going to play it. Because of social media, everybody's going to be sharing it, talking about it. Eventually, once this word of mouth hits a certain tipping point, this thing is going to explode, and we're going to eventually, be on pace to hit 100 million. I don't think they anticipated. I think they were on that path like in 2021, and maybe right up until they bought ABK. And then it felt like after the ABK stuff, and after a lot of the trials and the Jim Ryan stuff, and then a lot of his comments, a lot of the media and just people all around were like, oh, wait a second, like I see what they're trying to do here. Like they are literally trying to, turn the whole thing. Like once I think people started to see like the potential of that, and there was a lot of pushback. And I don't think Microsoft anticipated as much pushback from, mainstream, media, from gamers, from like everybody kind of like, oh shit, like they really are trying to change the paradigm, and this may not be good for the traditional paradigm that I've always known. And so they ran into that sort of headwind, and I think that really threw off a lot of their...
Are you saying that Jim Ryan got to everybody? Is that what you're saying?
I think in hindsight, I feel like Jim Ryan did a much better job for Sony than people probably realize. Like I feel like he probably did more over those 2 years fighting the case and making his statements, kind of getting people to kind of realize this is like an us versus, like at first, like it was like a nice thing. Like you saw a lot of the mainstream go like, oh, this is neat, Sony should do the same thing, and like, this is great, all these companies are being successful. And then, after that trial started and Jim Ryan started coming out with these comments, you kind of saw it like an us versus them mentality with these different kind of business models. So I think that's number one. I think we have to realize that, if Microsoft does decide to delve into advertising, they do need to get results. And there is a couple different ways you can approach this. You can say, hey, we're going to spend money in the marketing budget, which is going to drive these sales to the platform, which then will give us more support. Or we think that if we just took that money that we would have spent in marketing, we invested in content, it will market itself. And I think that was the approach they took. I still think that's partially what the approach they're going to take. And like the other obstacle is that when you think about marketing, it's usually it's targeting younger demographics. And the reason is because people that are 40, 50, like when you get to the gray beard ages, like we're set in our ways, right? Like we're not gonna, people don't switch from as often from like Miller Lite to Bud Light or whatever, or from whatever their favorite beers are, or whatever their favorite sports are and things like that. You,
to your point, real quick, you don't know how much I spend just to avoid people throwing ads in my face. I hate it like the plague. Oh my God. But continue, please.
Like, no. Yeah. We're like, you're not going to, like, you're wasting your time on us graybeards. Right. Like, and that's what I think when Phil Spencer talked about, it was kind of too late. I think a lot of what he's alluding to is that the gamers that do value those old exclusives and things like that are digitally bought in, they're kind of long gone. Like we're not going to, there's no amount of marketing we're going to do that's going to get them to switch over. So, what do you got to do? You got to target these new generations, but they're so different, right? They play Fortnite and they play Minecraft. They play whatever the free to play stuff is. And how do you target them? Like you don't target them the way you did with the 360. Like those commercials aren't going to like resonate as much when with these new generations and things like that. And I think they hoped that Game Pass could be a little bit more of a its own flywheel that would market itself. So yeah, I think that multiple things can exist at once. You have those issues and challenges. For Sony, I think they got to continue to keep themselves as the brand. So there's a lot more to lose on their end. So they're going to probably continue to dump money into it. But yeah, like everyone was saying, like the actual margins are worse on that side. So there's a downside to that. And we saw Totoki even calling that out. It's like, well, like as much as Jim and the team did a great job keeping Sony front and center in terms of like the brand when it comes to consoles, their margins suck. The head of Sony himself has basically called that stuff out. So that's one of the reasons why, so when people are bringing that up and it's like, well, Microsoft needs to spend more on marketing. It's like, well, where do you want them to spend it? First of all, I do think that the flip side is that what everyone was saying is true as well, though. Like two things can exist at once. Like the margins could be, you can rationalize why they've invested less in marketing, but also say that what they have done is not great as it is, and we know that it has been disjointed. A lot of it was Microsoft structure and things like that. It's not very cohesive. I feel like Clobril does a better job marketing than a lot of their marketing teams altogether. And it's like part of it is they
just sorry, OBM, just to
go ahead, man.
To be fair, right? Clobril, fantastic. Clobril knows how to market to us for what we are looking for.
True.
That may not be what it is going to take to get a like a casual into the ecosystem and do those things, right? Like because we like list wars. We like seeing the graphics next to things. That may not work for someone who's not already invested in the ecosystem and arguing with ponies on the timeline, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the marketing thing it's I don't think it's as simple as some people make it out to be. And if we are terminally online, we're constantly on Twitter, we may think about things differently. But again, if we're already here paying attention to this stuff, we are probably already locked in, and we are either in or never going to get in no matter what they do. And so it's what they do to market to the uninitiated that I think matters.
Speak for yourself there, Reborn. I am not about the list wars. Calm down. I understand. But anyway, I do agree with you guys. And actually, that's why I brought this up, because I felt like people were giving them unnecessary smoke for this. And I'm like, yeah, duh, obviously. But we've also seen them talk about the take-home pay, the actual profit, always being better, because they're not wasting all the money putting characters on billboards and on the side of buildings. So where do you think that money goes? It goes home. So,
well, and let's not and let's not forget, like, to give credit where it is due, assuming that all the things, these statements are true, and they should be if they're coming from the top, they have if they have more active console users than they've ever had. And like Phil was even saying that they've grown, what is it, 10% in terms of software, software spend every year. Like, so obviously they're figuring they figured out how the money part. I would also like, I guess the last thing I would just note on this, and this will be the last thing I'll say on this, but I would also kind of like just take a wait and see, like, for the people that get anxious about this and wonder, well, are they serious about this or that, because they don't see the marketing. They use that as like a sign of whether they're like still all in on gaming or their platform and stuff. And you got to remember that this, for them, there's a lot, especially after ABK, there's probably a lot of chairs moving around. I mean, we already know they've restructured the marketing team. They brought in a new person. They restructured the entire gaming in the way marketing sits, with the jobs of Sarah and Matt Booty and all that stuff. Like all the way that stuff is aligned now is completely different. And I think they're getting ready for this new shift that we may start to see next year. Maybe it won't be into 2026, but the future, I think this is like no inside information or anything like that, but like that's kind of what I think is happening is the way that they're going to look at mind share and growing that is with the new age. It is really about being everywhere, right? This is like how Nadella thinks. And I think that they believe that, again, going back to Netflix, when you get to the point where you turn on a TV and you see Xbox as an app on your TV, you go, it's like everywhere, right? It's just kind of like, now it's just another app that people can just access. That is going to be something that in of itself is kind of a marketing in a way, right? And I think one of the things that I wonder about for next gen, and I hope that this is kind of like high on their list, you would assume it is, one of the biggest weaknesses I think of their ecosystem relative to like Sony has been like the sharing and being viral and things like that. Like they really never mastered social media and connecting it to the console, whereas they used to be the leaders in that area. Whereas like we're gonna, we understand the community aspect, and we're gonna grow this through word of mouth and building up this, be the first in terms of like functions that really bring the social part of gaming together. I think they got to figure out how to lead on that again, and figure out how the next time they, with their future app, their future platforms, figure out cool and innovative ways to tie it into social media, to tie it into sharing, to really connect people again. Because it's been like disjointed, and they've been behind for a generation.
I would also add maybe something for them to figure out in those other non-English speaking regions is localization. Before we like sort your localization issues before you start worrying about marketing to people in languages they don't understand.
Right.
Like
so now is when I will be the evil monster in the group, and I will also mention.
I know what you're gonna say.
You know what I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna let you say it, but I know what you're gonna say.
They are in a world now where they've traversed the divide, not only with grammar, but with a lot of translation. AI can really help them in this world. Like when it specifically comes to localization, it really can. It really, really can at this point. You know what I mean? So yes, point the horns on me. I hate to say it, but here we go.
And here's the thing, right? I have one of those new Surface Snapdragon Elite NPU PCs, and it has specific hardware in it, like the NPUs to run those small language models that literally in real time can translate things like as you're listening to it, right? And so if we're talking about next gen hardware being the biggest technological leap, which we've all kind of guessed, it's going to have AI stuff. It's going to have NPUs that have specific workload tasks, and you can translate things in real time like you can do right now on this Surface Laptop 7, is there a world where you get the next Xbox or the next handheld Xbox? It has, at least 45 tops or whatever you need. It has the NPUs, and they're just making their games, and the localization, no pun intended, but the localization happens locally on the fly.
Indeed.
It's
Indeed,
going to be an
yeah.
interesting world. It's going to be such an interesting world in a couple years. Like if cloud can ever just get over that edge where it's good enough for casuals, and AI is integrated to the point where it solves some of these issues. Like a lot of the stuff we're talking about, like this, the whole world could look really different in gaming. And like,
so you know what,
years.
OBM. Like, speaking of cloud, I've spent a lot of time this last week basically playing cloud games, because I did, again, cheap plug, I did that Fire Stick review. So I spent a lot of time playing their games in the cloud, and I will tell you, it is so damn close. I mean, it's so close you could taste it. It's not there yet, but it is so damn close. It's just so close. And obviously third parties are also in the mix trying to get to traverse that divide. And it does run better even on their hardware than it does on their software, rather, than it does on the Xbox's original version. But they're so close, so close. This whole idea of now combining, choosing whether you're running NVIDIA GeForce Now versus Steam versus the Xbox cloud gaming, depending on where you are, that might be how they traverse that divide, right? If you have what do you call them? If you have data centers that are closer to you from NVIDIA, maybe you use them instead of using the ones from Xbox, and they are ubiquitous as far as wherever you happen to pull in the data. As long as the customer just pulls in that data, they'll sort out the mechanizations of cost in the back end, so it's not just beholden to Xbox's own ecosystem, and that's it. That might be how they get that.
What happens, Kay? Like if somebody who, let's just say you have like an old Xbox, you bought both consoles last gen, but you were like on PlayStation, you didn't really, it never clicked with you. You threw your Xbox in the closet and it just kind of gathered dust or whatever. Like, what happens if you get to a point like Elder Scrolls comes out and you just find out, you know what, like streaming is good enough that I just bust out my OG Xbox and stream it, and you could even is that going to be a way that you can kind of solve this guy? And is that maybe why it's not so important for them to sell the Series S yet? Because if you're somebody who's not into the speeds and feeds, or even if you are engaged, like you're still playing Madden on your old Xbox One, you're not a college football fan, so you haven't upgraded yet. Like, does Microsoft kind of think that maybe it's the only thing that's important to us is that they're still playing and they're still in our ecosystem? We don't really care what box it's on, because by the time all this roadmap starts to hit, the streaming thing is going to get better and better. And for those people that don't prioritize speeds and feeds, it might be good enough for them, right? It might be good enough to go play Elder Scrolls on that. Yeah.
They are very close to that. It's not 1-to-1. And again, as Everborn Saga correctly pointed out, just because we say they don't care doesn't mean screw it, they don't care. It's just they won't put as much effort in as a platform whose only method of delivering you games is that box, right? Right. If you have another company, if their company has the ability to send it to you through PC games that you already own the hardware, or through an Android device that you already own the hardware of, or through a Fire Stick, right? They will put effort in bringing their consoles to the market. Obviously the R&D dollars are still being spent. They will still market it that way, but they won't only market it that way, because they know there are other avenues to get you to what they want, which is you in the game, right? So it'll be an interesting thing to see. Let's move along. And I like having you here, OBM, as a person who, like me, is a huge fan of this franchise. Everborn, you and I, we've talked about this pretty frequently. Now's the time.
No, I know where we're going.
Now's the time where we're gonna pour one out for Master Cheeks. We're gonna pour one out for the one that made prisoners, war criminals into bedfellows. After 2 seasons, it looks like we may, and the big opera word being may, not get another season. we're here. If you have your virtual drinks, pretend they're alcohol. Probably it's still early, so you're probably drinking orange juice. Pouring out for the goat. I know nobody will listen to me, but I'm telling you, season 2 is worth watching. You don't have to listen to me. I'm still saying it. Season 2 worth.
I think you can skip season 1 and go straight to season 2.
Yes, I agree. And if you are a gamer of gamers and you know the Halo franchise well, skip all of season 2. Just go to the last episode. That will make you happy.
Well, I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't go I wouldn't go that far.
Even that I would say, because then you'd go, yeah, this is actually pretty good. Anyway, so
was anybody here sad? I was not sad.
I was sad. I was genuinely sad because there are shows that are far worse than this that have far better more seasons, more opportunities to get right. This one was given 2 and then it was dropped, right? So I'll start with you, OBM. You weren't sad. I'm sure you were expecting this. What are your thoughts?
Was not sad. And I tried. I have some friends that actually did like, and I had some friends that hated it too. But and I really, really, really tried to like it. And I was like, there was some moments like the first season, the 5th episode, near the end when you had the battle was pretty cool. The Needler, the person that got blown up by a Needler, that was pretty neat. They had like moments here and there where it was like kind of like a little bit of fan service, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I imagined Halo would look like if it ever had a budget and was put onto big screen or something. Like they did have moments here and there where I was like, all right, like keep going with this. But the problem is it just wasn't often enough. I found myself like I found some long groans when they brought back. I'm not going to even apologize for spoilers anymore. When they brought back the Covenant, the human Covenant girl in season 2, it's like, wait a second, like. Nobody liked that angle, and then you had a chance to walk away from it, and you doubled down on stuff. Like early on in season 2, I felt like a lot of us were like, oh, they listened to us, they tweak things, and then we found out they were just subverting us, and then they doubled down on some of the stuff that we hated from season 1. And I mean, at least we didn't get as many ass cheeks shots of Master Chief.
There will be no Master Cheek slander, sir. No Master Cheek
slander. And Kay, I'll give. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say
you don't kick the man when he's in his grave, which is where he is now.
I will say, Kay, you did a really good job.
Calm down. Stop that.
The Keys was played. I thought Keys' character. They had some good characters. I thought
they
Keys
combined
was good.
Keys and Avery. I think they combined Keys and Avery. So it seemed to me. Anyway.
Yeah, Keys was good. Like they had a few like, and I can't even remember all their names now. Like the one of the Spartan girls was good. Yep. Like the Spartan armor was pretty good looking. Like they had little things here and there. It's like, they got this right. They got this casting right, but it just never came together. And I know when the end of the season 2 hit, I didn't find myself looking forward to season 3 at all. And I think that was them announcing. Yeah. So them announcing that this is canceled. Like I instead of it getting picked up and continued, I had actually wouldn't mind if this thing kind of needed to go back to the drawing board and they rebooted this again with somebody, with a different, like take all the feedback and reboot this. And again, don't need to follow the games beat for beat. I don't need that, but at least spiritually try to stay within the lore. And there's so many, the universe is so big, just like Star Wars. It's so big. You can go so many different places. It feels like you can still be loyal to some of the key elements of the lore, the spirit of the universe, all that stuff, and go tell your own stories, or even tell new stories, or kind of flesh things out. Like a good example is recently I've been watching like House of the Dragon, and I thought Game of Thrones ended horribly, by the way. Like season 8 was awful. I'm bitching a lot right now when it comes to TV shows, but House of the Dragon, like, I have the book that's based off of, and it's like a lot of high level beats to it. Like it doesn't flesh out the moment to moment. They just take the outline and they really fill it in extremely with extremely good writing and actors, and everything seems to fit, without like completely feeling like you are not being true to like the universe and the lore and stuff in ways that doesn't make sense. So and they're still telling their own story. I feel like you could do the same thing with Halo. You could still follow some of the major beats, but maybe fill in the color inside the lines a little bit creatively and things like that. So and even Last of Us, that TV show, does that in some of the episodes. I think it follows the games beat for beat a little bit early on, but they kind of veer off and they do their own things here and there, and I think that worked really well. So yeah, I wouldn't mind to see Halo get a reboot, not just continue.
I'm gonna be a wet blanket for a little bit, so I apologize.
Oh, Umbra, how could you, sir? How could you? Anyway.
So there's a couple of things. Now, House of the Dragon. Yes, I've also read Fire and Blood. Yes, it is the book is written in the style of a historical account. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're reading a history book. And the show is basically showing you what their interpretation is of what really happened. So basically the book is like cliff notes of these events, and the show shows you on the ground what happened, who's the characters. And I wasn't sure the show could even work because there's so many time jumps, and it kind of felt like they were kind of jumping in and out to these things instead of telling a cohesive story. But I feel like season 2 has become a lot more cohesive, and so since you've read the book, you know what's going to happen to everyone and when. They've been pretty true to that. I also don't think they did Blood and Cheese justice, but that is a conversation for another day. What I will say though, with Halo, it is the Star Wars problem, the Star Wars Skywalker problem, right? Where the universe is so vast. It is more of a milieu. It's a setting to where you can tell stories. That's what Star Wars is, but they keep telling stories that are related to the Force and Skywalkers, when we all know the universe of Star Wars is a lot bigger than that. And so with Halo, my thing always was from season 1 was people have too many assumptions about the Master Chief because they have played as the Master Chief for 20 plus years, and anything that you do that is different from what people have in their heads is not going to feel right. This is why one of the dumbest arguments I've heard against the show was that Chief takes his helmet off. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't matter if he takes his helmet off. There were other issues with the show. But anyway, I think that because season 1 left such a sour taste in people's mouths, that they couldn't fully appreciate what season 2 was, because they kept thinking about how bad season 1 was. And the people who could let that go and just enjoy season 2 for what it was, there weren't enough of us that were able to do that. I was week to week enthralled in what was going on in season 2.
Season 2 was great. Yes,
it didn't, even though it didn't stick to the lore per se, this is what happens when you have good storytellers. So I don't think it's as simple as stick to what happened in the game, because what happens in a game or what happens in a comic book does not one-to-one always translate to something working well in a television show or a movie. You have to adapt and take advantage of the medium that you're in. Season 1 just was bad storytelling, right?
Yes.
Like all around. And I think the only reason we got a season 2 is because Paramount really didn't have anything else. And also, they had spent so much money on the production, building sets, building out the armor, doing all those things, making sure it looked like something in the Halo universe, that they had to do another season basically, or would have been an even larger write-off, right? And so I can tell you the only reason I signed up for Paramount Plus was for this show, and I will not be renewing my subscription because it's a shitty service, right? I'm sorry, like Top Gun and the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movies aren't enough for me to stay subscribed to this service. I apologize. Now I know they have the Sonic show on there, but like, I don't think that's enough to stay on it either.
For the record, it is the Knuckles show, not the Sonic show. The Knuckles
sure.
show.
I apologize. But the point is, this is what happened. You didn't get enough people coming back because during the first season for the opening, they did bigger numbers for the opening of The Last of Us in terms of streams and views, right? But then people got in there after the pilot episode and it kind of got progressively worse as the first season moved on. And so by the time the second season came around, not enough people cared. That is separate from the fact that Paramount Plus or Paramount writ large was going through like acquisition drama on the level of Succession, right? Where Sony was a player and then they were in, then they were out, and then they were getting rid of offers, and then their numbers were down, and now I think they've agreed to be acquired by Skydance. So like a show that costs as much as Halo to produce doesn't work on a fledgling service like that, right? Now I also hear that they are shopping a season 3, and we also I do want to give credit because a lot of people don't know this. There's an entirely new, they kept the same cast on screen in front of the camera, but behind the camera the entire showrunner and production team had all changed, and that's why you saw the quality difference. And I believe if we had the showrunners behind season 2 that were running things from the beginning, I think the show would be in a different place right now. But again, you put a show like this on Paramount Plus, it's destined to fail to begin with. I'm sorry. This kind of show and what it needed to be on Amazon. It needed to be on Netflix.
Yeah. That's I would freaking love, like, get Amazon with the Fallout budget, you know, like.
Right, but the question is someone at the caliber of Jonathan Nolan interested in making a Halo show? Right.
Jonathan
Nolan plays Fallout.
Wasn't there recently a talk of somebody else grabbing the Halo universe, talking about it at that caliber? I forget the name of the gentleman.
Well, to be clear, even in this story, the current showrunners are trying to pitch the show to other networks, and we've seen Netflix pick up several shows. We've seen Netflix pick up Lucifer. We've seen Netflix pick up Arrested Development. We've seen these things happen. So I don't know that just saying Amazon picking up the show is enough. Amazon plus who behind it and how much of a budget Amazon's willing to do. But again, the relationship between Microsoft and Amazon, not when we're talking about Azure versus AWS, they're suing each other left and right. But in terms of television content, the relationship is good. They have a success. The problem is, there's an old line from Jay-Z, which is, once you tag lame, the game is follow the leader, right? And what that means is the Halo show has a certain stink on it right now. And with all the other things you could adapt, do you want to put $100 million into a show that didn't have enough interest to continue past 2 seasons?
I think it needs some time to breathe.
Exactly. But then what are we doing? Are we waiting another 10 years like we had to wait?
You see?
When
now we're getting back to
was allegedly involved,
we're getting back to the finish of the fight situation where they never finish it. Nobody ever gets to the
spot. The thing I would have loved to have seen, and so like the whole advantage of go ahead.
Right? If you're saying, hey, Amazon, we did great with Fallout, what's our next thing? Do we want to take this show that has a bad public perception around it, as well as the game, which again is great right now, but also had a bad public perception around it? Do we want to take that and put $100 million, or do we want to put $100 million into maybe doing an Elder Scrolls show or a Doom show,
right?
Or a Fable show, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The show has a negative connotation to it now, and so I think it's going to be difficult for them to find a new home for it, because anyone spending the money on this is just going to go read the headlines about season 1, and they're going to say, well, now I got to find out a way to not only make a good show, but get people to trust me that I am making a good show, because this Halo brand has the stink of the first season on it.
The Stankonia, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
an issue.
Well, and everyone, I agree with everything you're saying there, and I actually do think that if I'm being realistic, they probably had their opportunity and swung and missed in this case. And who knows when Halo comes back? Because you're right, like Elder Scrolls is a much bigger IP than Halo is today, and they have other mega IPs. The thing I hope they take away from this, and part of it is going to be, learning from both the positives and the negatives of a few things that have been out there. Because, we saw Last of Us had success. It also reinvigorated some of the sales of the games. We saw Fallout had a huge, impact on the engagement of Fallout video games and just that IP in general. And this goes back to like what Microsoft's vision was. Like when we go back to the original Xbox One launch, they knew that transmedia was going to play a bigger impact in gaming, and that there would be a much bigger connection between like these IPs in terms of what you see on the TV or the movies and what we end up playing. And if we look today at like most of the big single player IPs out there, and even some of the multiplayer ones, like the stuff that resonates, it's like almost like you have to throw a big IP that exists to have success now with these in AAA. It's like you have to throw an IP that has recognition beyond just the gaming only, like a Spider-Man or Star Wars, or it's like whenever we see a return of IP, it's like either has to be super established in gaming or has some sort of cross transmedia connection there. And where we've seen the success, we saw it with Fallout, and I get it, like Fallout is completely different in terms of how you would tell the story. You can spin off a completely new, not be beholden to anything that or too many things that were in the game, but still be true to the world. It's a lot different trying to write for a Fallout TV show or like a Last of Us, where the game was kind of like a movie to begin with, versus a Halo. But at the end of the day, when you make those decisions, I think these days or moving forward, you have to figure out how can one of these things feel the excitement for the other? Like, how do we kind of get that flywheel effect where the game inspires interest in the show, and the show inspires interest in the game? And so Halo, I think, in order for it to work, would have needed to still be at least lore faithful enough to where it inspired people to go back to the games and things like that. And it didn't have that impact at all.
Let me say something, OBM. I said this from the beginning of the first season when people were complaining about a Spartan taking off their helmet in the shower.
Now you're giving me ideas where they're naked, they're taking a shower, but the helmet stays on.
That's what people want, right? But I really think in order to tell an effective story and have it be as effective as the Fallout show, you can't focus on Chief. There's too many expectations around Chief.
Now he's turning into Black Viking. Here we go.
No. I'm not on that. The games need to focus on Chief. And Chief, I'm not saying kill off Chief like Brap, right? I am saying if you're telling a narrative story and you want people to be on board that love the universe and the lore,
maybe
people
talk about
have certain expectations
focus
around
on
Chief.
Focus on the character, the other character that eventually became a Spartan, the female character. She was great.
Listen, or just make new characters that are living in the world around certain events that we remember. Or just say it happens after Infinite or whatever, however you want to do it. Just tell stories of other Spartans that have 100%. The history and the lore of this world. And then people can just come in and take the story for what it is and appreciate the visuals and the background lore of the world without coming in with their preconceived notions and expectations of what Chief should or shouldn't do. And that's how you can tell a story, and Chief can still be in that world. Maybe he does cameos and things like that, but you still get the benefit of people that know the lore in the world being able to live in that world. And now you get to tell new stories that just have Halo as sort of the backdrop. Right.
Yep.
And I just think that's the way you tell a story like this. And that's literally what they did in the Fallout show, right? Because
True,
Fallout,
true,
you make
yeah.
your own character, and they're telling stories about new characters in the world so many people know and love, and that's why it worked and
So,
it brought in new people, because it's an interesting world.
Dr.
That's all
Dryrub,
I'm getting at.
I have to say it because Dr. Dryrub said it. He's out here talking about, and he has a good point. One of the best AAA games that no one has played because it's in VR, Half-Life Alyx. That would be great as a story. It would be especially that character of Alex. Such agency, such well-written character. I agree with you, Mr. Dr. Dryrub. Thank you so much for the thoughts. Yes, no, he's not wrong. Like it really is a good story. The only thing that held it back is the fact that the medium that you have to use to watch it, to experience it, is very niche, and most people won't want to do that. So it is what it is. BT Maverick 707, member for 3 months, here with some slander, saying Captain Keys, don't even do that to me. He says, what is the next for you in your acting career? I'm gonna act like I'm not hating on you right now for that ridiculous comment. Thank you, sir. That's what I'm gonna do.
That comment was not ridiculous at all, and it was rooted in historical fact. But
oh, you need to calm down yourself. Calm down, Esther. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, let us move forward. And before we get out of here, because I think I want to do one more story, and this will be a touch point, if you will, because we tend to we've been talking about this for years now. We can say that for years now. And when there's an update, I feel like we should be bringing that update to you. So there's some more FTC news about the thing that has already happened, that's already done, that's past us at this point, which is that the FTC saw what Microsoft has done now that they have purchased ABK, and in the upgrades and the changing of the tiers and all that, and blasted them for a degraded service. And oh, by the way, Microsoft then shortly responded after that. But I'll let you tell it, Mr. Everborn Saga. I'm sure you've been paying attention to some of these things. Is it much ado about nothing? I think it's yawn. Wake me up when they can do something about it. But I'll let you tell it.
Okay, so several things that I think a lot of people aren't understanding here. So this is the FTC responding to the Ninth Circuit Appellate Court, who is currently deciding on the appeal that the FTC made to the June Judge Corley decision that was for a preliminary injunction. So what that means is, before Microsoft owned ABK, the FTC was suing Microsoft to block the deal, and they went to a judge and wanted to, so the FTC doesn't actually have the power to block a deal on their own, right? You need a federal court to do that. So they went to the federal court, and they basically tried to tell the court to say, you cannot close this deal. The problem is, when they lost that case, Microsoft closed the deal. So this is not to, this whole appeal is not to it's not to like take ABK away from Microsoft. It is so that they can go back to the judge and have them rewrite their decision, because the judge was only deciding on if Microsoft was to be blocked from closing the deal until the FTC's in-house case. I don't know if you guys are following me so far.
I'm following you. Yep.
So
following
I don't know if the chat is following me, but so that's what a preliminary injunction is. The problem is, all the preliminary injunction judge is deciding on, Judge Corley, Jacqueline Scott Corley, all she's deciding on is whether we should block them from closing the deal until the FTC has their day in court. They failed that attempt, and Judge Corley wrote a decision, and now the deal is closed. So even if the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals sides with the FTC and says that Judge Corley's decision was wrong, all that happens is the case will go back to Judge Corley, and she will have to rewrite her decision based on what the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has said. And they argued this case in front of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in December. It is now, that was December 2023. It is now the year of our Lord, 2024, in nearly the end of July, and they have not decided yet, probably because they were busy on deciding other things that are actually important. And so every now and again, when new items come up in the news, either Microsoft or FTC will go to the court and say, hey, look at this thing, in hopes that it will sway the judges. The problem is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is only deciding on what Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley's decision was at the time. You cannot really present new facts under a case because this wasn't in front of Judge Corley at the time, right? Was her decision wrong at the time she made it? Now, if the appeals court sides with the FTC on certain parts of Judge Corley's decision, that will give the FTC ammo to continue their in-house trial. If the appeals court do not side with the FTC and they say Judge Corley was correct, then the FTC will have to decide whether it makes any sense at all to continue their in-house court case. The moral of the story here is the FTC is not going to let this go because they want to get language. Now, the problem is what was not really reported a while, well, not like this is, Microsoft has also made filings with the court that says, hey, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, look at what the Supreme Court just decided on this Verizon case, which is the FTC cannot interpret the law in the way they want and just get a deal blocked. And the Supreme Court said, no, they can't. And so that, puts a hamper by law for what the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals can do, because, the Supreme Court sets precedent. What the FTC is doing now is taking something that is in the news and said, see, we said they were going to raise prices because of ABK, and we were right. Just take that into account when you decide whether the other things we said were correct. Now, Microsoft, in their response, said, you are grasping at straws and you didn't make this argument during your original case, and now you're just reading the news headlines following us and trying to argue new things on appeal, which is not allowed, because you're only appealing what was argued and what was decided in that case, not things that happened ex post facto. So now Microsoft says, hey, look at all these things that we said we were going to do, because your whole case was around protecting Sony, and we signed a 10-year Sony agreement. Right. And Sony, since we're doing public news articles, Sony publicly said we were thrilled to sign this deal with them. That was your whole case. And Sony signed a deal with us, and we can't pull the game away from them. And we have not pulled the game away from them. And as a matter of fact, we've made it available to more people, as we said we would. And oh, by the way, everyone that is sort of crying about everyone's that is sort of crying about price increases now, they increase prices before they closed ABK. Yep. As a matter of fact, every price went up. And that's not me saying I'm happy with it, but there's nothing to say that prices would not have gone up with inflation anyway, right? The cost of whatever. Now, let's be clear. They raised these prices because of ABK. It's right. Just the legal argument is very flimsy. And again, you can't make this argument on appeal, right? This is an appeal case that has already been argued. They've already made their arguments. They've already had their day in court. The preliminary injunction, that's already been argued. The appeal has already been argued. This is taking something from the news. The last thing I will say about this, and And twice in 1 year is normal. Netflix has done it. Eat Fresh Guy. So that's the thing about that. But anyway, Microsoft argues, you're saying we made this worse, but actually the people in the console tier before were paying $11 a month, but they didn't get online. And now we're adding online, which they would have had to pay an extra $10 a month for. So they're actually saving money. So if you add online and you add the $11 a month, you get $21. You might as well go to the ultimate tier, which is what this really is. And most people, and this is not me making this up, some 80% of people who are signed up for Game Pass are on the ultimate tier.
Yep.
These aren't my words.
Yeah.
These are the FTC's words.
Yeah.
This is the CMA's words, right? So the last thing I'll say on this is we're all wondering why Microsoft's messaging around multi-platform has been so terrible, and why internally and externally they're making sure we know that there are no sacred cows. This is why.
Yep, because they're still lingering.
Everything that happens in the news, everything that they say, and everything the FTC's case was based around was Microsoft using their market power to make titles exclusives. And if they would do it with Bethesda, if they do it with their own titles, why won't they do it with ABK titles? And Microsoft needs to show, because they're already on the hook now for ABK. They already spent their $72 billion. So now they're way more liability than if it got blocked before money exchanged hands. Then it would only cost them $3-4 billion. Now they're on the hook for this whole thing. And so they cannot take chances with the FTC getting any wins here. So their language, publicly and privately, needs to be there. No sacred cows, and we make more money by putting our stuff everywhere. And so when you wonder why they won't say, well, Halo or Gears will never go, because that's all we want to hear, it's because of this specifically, because they will say, see, you think exclusives will make you money, therefore you're going to do it with Call of Duty, even though it doesn't make any sense, and the FTC is being disingenuous. The block is hot, and the phone is tapped, and the streets are watching. Right? And so they have to use language publicly before the FTC goes crying to the courts again. See, exclusives are good. Exclusives make money. They're going to have to respond to another letter like this, and they can't take those chances. So keep that in mind when you wonder why Microsoft's language and messaging has been the way it's been since ABK.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. I've talked enough.
I was gonna actually back you up a little bit, Everborn, because you talk about the disingenuous arguments, and I think a lot of people will say, well, that just doesn't make sense. That would never fly. And I think what you're saying is that doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter if it don't fly.
Because in this particular case, I mean, this is surface level. You don't have to be super engaged in the case or anything like that, or be just a master lawyer yourself. The company that they were protecting, the whole basis of the case, Sony, as you mentioned, they themselves raised every tier of their own subscription late last year by 25%, which is exactly how much Microsoft, if you go from the $15 ultimate tier to the $20, $15 where it started all the way up to that, where they're at today, it's at the exact same percentage, 25%, in kind of in line with the inflation excuse and everything else. So even if you didn't have Call of Duty, you could basically say, hey, this is what the market, we already know this is what the market is, right? This is the leader in this segment of that, the leader that you're trying to protect in this segment of the industry just did the same exact price increase last year. So how are you tying it into just ABK? Logically, there's not much of a case there, but I think to your point, Everborn, that is the point. It's they're just going to grasp at everything they can, and that's why everything they continue to do will still matter when it comes to the exclusives and the language and everything else. Because on the surface, there should be this is almost this is like, this should be something that basically doesn't even doesn't get anywhere, in terms of an argument against their market power and everything, just based on precedent already set. But they're throwing everything against the wall they can. They'll continue to waste money as much as they have to. And the whole idea, and this goes back to all the stuff we talked about a couple years ago, or for over the course of a couple years, was never about them thinking they had this amazing airtight case. It was really, and even some of the analysts who aren't involved in gaming would say this. The whole point is to make this as ugly and as inexpensive as they could, and that was going to be the deterrent for other companies like Amazon and Apple and Google and everybody else continue to do this thing, is we're going to make this super ugly, super expensive, make you have to bring out all the skeletons in your closet that are going to, maybe embarrass you or hurt your brand and things like that. And that's how we're going to be deterrent, because with the laws and there is nothing to prevent these types of acquisitions and mergers other than that. So they're going to continue to do this to continue to drive home that point. And I think that they'll if there is other big exclusives, or if they can find any other way to bring this back to the courts, they will, indefinitely, until they find somebody new to focus on. So
yep, I don't disagree. I won't even venture to add my thoughts to it, because I think you guys covered it right perfectly. And Cord Wayner there, his comment is very apt here. Yes, the process is the punishment. It's not even the end result. It's the process. Nope. So there
it's
you go.
The fact they got to go back and got to bring their lawyers in and spend more freaking money, right? Yep.
Absolutely. So I think we could leave it there, because I want to be right around 3 hours today. I had a few more, but I feel like this has been nice, well-rounded conversation. What do you think, Everborn? Do you have a few more nuggets you wish to drop, or are we good?
I thought something else happened this week. Well, there was another big thing that happened this week.
There are many things that have happened this week.
Okay, give me something else. Just run through
we could still talk about EA and how much
Concord
the football game is doing. We could talk about Concord. We could talk about the fact that there's now questions about whether the PS5 Pro will be coming out this year. There's a lot more other places we could go, but then we're having a 5-hour podcast, sir.
I still don't think the PS5 Pro makes sense. Just think about it. Just, and again,
what games will you play on this PS5 Pro that gets you to upgrade to it? With the exception of maybe, I don't know, GTA 5, which let's be honest, it'll probably be on 6, Xbox as well. 6.
Here's the problem, right? We know a lot of these hardwares things are sold at cost, right? If not razor thin margins, and sometimes as a loss leader, right? Those are your three options in this space, right? Unless you're going to make some underpowered hardware, and that's not what the PS5 Pro is. And so if you have so many people that have not upgraded yet, right? And it costs so much to make this hardware, so much so that we're 4 years into the generation and they have not been able to lower the cost yet. You're either going to sell this thing at a massive loss and then
there's
bring
no
down the
subsidization,
prices on
sir.
the others, right?
There's no
But here's the
subsidization.
thing. So you're gonna sell this thing to an infinitesimally small audience of hyper enthusiasts that are going to upgrade and buy whatever you put out. And we saw how well the PSVR did. And I know niche market, but the price was a factor there, and not supporting PC. Sure. But if you're going to how can you make this thing for less than, I don't know, $700?
But that's my point. It's not going to be less than $700. People are buying the ROG Ally X for $800, and that thing's a potato in comparison.
So again, who is going to buy that, and how much did you have to spend to manufacture and market that to this small group of people who, by the way, if you're buying a PS5 Pro, you're already an enthusiast and you already have a PS5, and so you could sell your games to these people anyway, and it is not like you're having trouble outselling the Xbox. So again, I would ask, why spend how is the juice worth the squeeze on that, and why spend the money to make that thing?
I don't get it. Real quick though, I think Zach Riley is onto something. Where is my Master Cheeks controller? Come on, it sells itself. Where is my Master Cheeks controller?
By the way, did you know that the cheeks on the Deadpool controller are magnetically connected? So it's literally a BBL.
Oh wow! I was wondering how you're gonna hold on to that thing. So you can actually remove the cheeks.
Yes.
That's hilarious. That is amazing. Now I really want a Master Cheeks controller. What the hell, man?
Yeah, the controller took a 5-day vacation to the Dominican Republic and then came back and it's fitting into dresses very nicely.
Oh, fantastic, bro. That's great. That's great. No, see, if there is news to talk about, like big news, it is the Deadpool controller, which seems to have taken over the damn internet for a little while, which I thought was hilarious. Very hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It's good. It's good. But yes, unless you guys, OBM, how about you? Anything that we may have left on the cutting room floor that you want to discuss, or should we get out of here?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I said a lot of things today, and I think we all need to eat something. And we all rolled out. We all rolled out of bed. Grabbed.
This is one of those days, man.
yeah. So we probably need to.
By the way, completely ungame related, but I just realized Ella Purnell, the actress from Fallout, was also one of the main actresses in Rebel Moon.
In Rebel Moon?
Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, yes.
I don't recall her character.
She had blonde hair.
I don't recall anything I saw in that movie.
She was the girl in the town that had the blonde hair that everybody anyway.
I'm surprised because I believe it or not, another unpopular opinion, I didn't mind Rebel Moon or Part 2.
I didn't mind Part 1. I thought it was serviceable. I took a lot of flack for that from Slow Mo.
Yeah, you just got angry. You just got angry when a sad moment happened and they brought literal violins on screen.
No. Part 2 was terrible. Like, I got mad. I was checked out after the 15-minute scene of cutting hay. That was it for me. But I tried my best to like that. And I didn't hate the first one, but the second one was god awful. But anyway,
okay,
I guess we can leave.
So yeah, we can leave it there. Hold on here. Let's see here. Pragmatic Eagle is saying that he doesn't recognize it. He didn't know that there was a controller. So I guess we will leave this. We'll leave this show with showing you the controller, which is this is why I'm like, where the hell is my Master Cheeks controller? If you guys are going to be able to make this controller, I mean, come on. If you can make this controller, which looks amazing, by the way, they're not going to sell it, which is another thing that's like, come on, guys, you should be selling this thing. If this controller exists, I need a Master Cheeks controller, specifically Master Cheeks controller. But anyway, look at that controller. That's amazing. Anyway, while we watch this, oh my God, and the angles, Lord help us. Anyway, I will ask you, OBM, where can people keep up with your ongoings this week, sir? Where can people keep up with all your screeds of the industry that clearly we need to hear more of, sir?
Yeah. Well, just follow me on Twitter. Mutha_1 is the handle. MUTHA_ONE. And it's just nice to be back with you guys. I haven't really done a lot of podcasting lately because work's been a lot of stuff, real life kind of stuff. So, but it is really, it's just nice. It gets a bit of energy. I love talking to you guys about it. You always come up with all the, not the canned responses, right? You always think of things in different contexts and angles, and also just are excited about a lot of things in the industry. And it's fun to be part of that, those conversations. And thanks for the invite. Like I said, it was kind of therapeutic to kind of, after a really busy week, just to come here and chat with you guys. So
no, I appreciate that, man. It's always wonderful having you here. You're always invited whenever you need. You feel the need to come and have a nice TED talk. You know where to find us, sir. You're always welcome here. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I do get like 5 TED talks in like every show.
Hey,
so
man,
I appreciate
we
you.
Appreciate that. We are a conversational podcast. You help us along. We appreciate it. Pragmatic Eagle saying, hell no, I'll be using this controller. Hey, man. like Everborn Saga is saying, you can detach it via magnets. This is amazing. Anyway, Everborn Saga, sir, how about you? Where can people keep up with your ongoings this week?
I'm going to be doing some more game dev lives this week. By the way, in the game, I have sorted the scaling issue. So the game now works on any size screen. It was initially designed only and hard coded for 800 by 480 because it was a mobile game. But now it'll work on your 4K screen or your 1440p monitor or your laptop screen or your.
Will it have DLSS
television.
or FSR, sir?
It will not need it. But that is my next thing for this week is to handle, because right now, again, the game was designed for mobile, so it was capped at 30 FPS. Now we're going to unlock the frame rate and make sure everything else doesn't break. So that's this week's goal. Last week's goal was adding controller support to the whole game because it was designed for touch. This week's goal was dealing with scaling, and the upcoming week, like I said, is going to be unlocking the frame rate, because this thing should run at 200 or whatever frames a second, since it's a 2D platformer. I might cap it at 90 just to make the math easier, but and then I gotta fix particle effects because this new engine, I have to rewrite how the game engine handles particle shaders and things like that. Other than that, I did want to say, because we didn't get a chance for this, in Karma, with what happened with CrowdStrike, I think it was one day of the week they laid off their DEI team, and then the next day CrowdStrike happens. So Karma's a bitch. These are the things that happen. But anyway,
absolutely,
that's
sir.
it. You'll find me maybe playing some more of these games we talked about earlier, and just trying to sort the frame rate issue in the game, and I'll try to do that live as much as I can. You got to be on the Discord for that.
Exactly. So you can join our Discord. Speaking of Discord, it will be part of our part of the show notes when this thing posts live, which I'll spend the rest of my day doing them show notes, making sure they look nice. If you happen to be watching us from YouTube or Twitter, we appreciate you. We say thank you. There's another option for you to be watching us, and that is thegamingcircle.com. Look at us. We are live right now on thegamingcircle.com. All of our past episodes are there as well. And if you happen to hit the blog section, you can check out some really awesome articles that we have been writing. There'll be more coming this week from all the various voices in our community. Many voices. Nobody has actually come up to me and told me who Chad Dufall is. Hilarious. You should know who Chad is. Great member of our community. His reputation precedes, and that's my pro tip. That's my hint. Tell me who Chad Dufall is and read some of his articles because they're pretty awesome. But yes, come check out thegamingcircle.com. We appreciate you guys for your continued support. And of course, obviously, the members of this channel who power us through all of the ups and downs of real life. You guys make me want to come back here and do another show because you guys are always here, always showing support. We appreciate y'all. So thank you guys so much. As for me, you can catch me most likely on gaming, on the various gaming podcasts you find me. This week, I'll most likely be back with Mr. Boomstick on Wednesday. On Monday night, I will allow Mr. Mr. John Wolf to talk my ear off about how amazing his ROG LIX is. It should be a good time. And then shortly after, I will be receiving my X1 Mini, and I think I might do another. I might lend my hand at another game, a physical review of that one. Do some recording, trying to get my feet wet in editing and stuff. So I might do a review of that.
Very excited for the handheld wars that are going to happen next week with your A1 or your X1 Mini versus the ROG LIX.
Yes,
CCP versus the ROG goons.
Bro, it's not even a comparison. The only claim you guys have to fame is the fact your battery's bigger. That's it. The processor's not as good. Your RAM is not as you don't have as much RAM. Like nothing else on your machine is more powerful than the X1 Mini. But yeah, you guys are gonna try and make a good show of it. We're sure. Anyway, but yes,
good luck finding a case.
It comes with a case, sir. That's the thing. See, it comes with a case. It's a beautiful thing.
What if you need another one?
I can go to their store and buy one.
What if go to their store You're not going to a Best Buy.
Oh, see, but this is the only claim to fame you have. You can
I
walk
thought
in
it was
like
the
a
battery was
troglodyte.
the only. I thought
You
the battery
can
was
walk-
the only claim to fame.
You
So now
can
we're
walk
up to 2.
into a store like a troglodyte and go, "I want game," and they'll hand it to
okay,
you.
but that's 2 things. You started out at 1, but okay, keep going.
See, here we go. On that
Well-
note, ladies and gentlemen, we're at 3:02. We will continue the handheld wars, probably on Monday night. What are you doing, Everborn? You feel like coming to argue on
If I
on the
can,
Gamers
I will,
Playground?
because John Wolf is going to be unbearable, and
He's going to be on fire. It's going to be hilarious. We're going to talk about it.
Present for that. That is going to be greatness. You should get MJ Dark on, because you're going to need backup that day.
Bro, I never need backup. Need backup. Please. I have facts on my side. You guys can be all emotional all you want. You can pom-pom twirl. As Snoop Dogg said, you can drop your pom-poms and bend your ankles if you want to. Anyway, on that slanderous note, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for being here. Check out the shows. Check out the articles on thegamingcircle.com. And until next week, have a good day, y'all. Keep it gaming. Peace.
Thanks for being on it.